carved out an ordinary life, living alone and glued to his computer screen all day, and yeah, his job felt totally off, but he stuck to the routine like it was law, right up until outside of. Nothing about him screams legend, just the games he used to drown out his thoughts and calm his head. Then life wrecks him, throws him into another world, and somehow he's still the same guy, still gripping a controller with that worn-out, dead-eyed look like reality didn't change a thing. With a box clutched in his hands, he stomped down the stairs, then froze when an argument erupted from the floor above, and curiosity ripped through him as he stared upward, desperate to figure out what was going on. Out of nowhere, a girl gets shoved down the stairs. She tumbles straight in front of him, hitting hard. When everything fell apart, the lights went out, total darkness swallowed the world. Then all of a sudden, he jolts awake on the grass, completely thrown off and clueless. As he jolts upright, everything hits him. He's not just in a new place, he's trapped in a totally different body, older, unfamiliar, and aching with confusion. He rubs the top of his head, trying to piece together what the heck happened, and that's when he notices it. Beside him on the ground sits a weird fruit, like a clue nobody asked for. Like the universe dropped a punchline just for him, he wakes up to discover the body he's in used to belong to a legendary old adventurer. But instead of legendary deeds or world-shaking battles, most of his work was grinding and routine, picking herbs, running deliveries, and taking on those small, throwaway missions. Living in this new body, he starts yanking up memories that never belonged to him, like flipping through a dusty diary in his own skull, and one by one, the old man's life clicks into place. When he was just a kid, an old man got thrown out of his home and dragged his life to the capital. Then he slipped into the guild while he was still young, fighting just to survive. Bit by bit, he pushed himself to become an even better adventurer, and he wasn't alone anymore, because he gathered companions who shared his dream of chasing something truly greater. Promises filled the air, and he could swear it. One day everything would finally click into place, but day after day, it never happened, no matter how hard he fought. His friends scattered, the groups crumbled, and every dream they built together got washed out like footprints in a storm, until all he had left was the grind, the bone-deep exhaustion, and that gut-punch feeling that he'd spent his whole life watching from the outside of his own story. Now that he's stuck in this body, he finally understands. Those past life memories don't do him much good. Back then he was nothing special, and here he's no different, just a regular guy, talentless, forgettable, and never standing out. Even with the whole world flipped upside down, that gut-deep feeling inside him hasn't budged. He's still the same person. Then he pauses for a beat, and suddenly realizes that everything has changed. Then bam, he gets a special power called Game, and suddenly he can play anywhere, anytime. Like the controller was fused to his bones, only one game sits on the screen, a life simulator. Inside this game he can do it all: hunt, fish, grow 10 crops, whip up alchemy crafts, and forge gear. Yet it's not about fighting and winning fights, it's about living right. Building your space, organizing your territory, and making life feel unstoppable. It's like the game just handed him everything real life didn't: order, comfort, and even a world that reacts when he moves, and he realizes this rare, special game power is basically unheard of in that place. The old adventurer never figured out how to use it right, or maybe just didn't think it was worth the shot. But now, with this new body, and that effortless game-born familiarity, he taps into everything like it was made for him. Even if it's just a game, that power still works, and for someone who's spent their whole life with nothing, that's everything. Even so, real life keeps punching him in the gut. He hustles tiny jobs and crashes in cheap places, because the PC feels only exists inside the game, and that shaky routine has been going strong for over 10 years. Out there, he's just an old adventurer nobody pays attention to, but in his head, a whole world blooms that only he can see. One night, a wild, impossible dream crashes into his mind. He jolts awake, sure someone's standing there, and when he snaps his eyes over, boom, he sees his old self, the him from before Reincarnation, staring back. The shock hits hardest because this version is dressed exactly like in the game, crown and cape and all, wearing a king's posture like an impossible, perfect, god-tier ideal. In the dream, he stares at a panel while his old self points straight at something specific, and even though he can't figure it out, he clocks a faint smile on the crown figure's face, like it's silently trying to steer him. Then boom, he snaps awake on the floor, the controller sitting right next to him, and confusion hits hard as he tries to figure out if he just dozed off mid-game. Still unsettled, he keeps replaying what he saw, and he's dead certain of one thing: the place from his dream is real, and it's hiding inside the game. He wastes zero time, slams the controller on, and hunts down the location. Then he powers through the menu, guiding his way, and he clocks the place at once, that trade corner tucked inside City Hall, a spot he'd always ignored. Now his gut screams it, something huge is buried right there. He studies the manual, gets the full picture of how it works, like how players can trade items with each other, post an item for sale and wait for someone to accept. Easy, except for one creepy detail that makes your skin crawl. He'd never touched that function before, and honestly, it felt even weirder. He'd never seen any other player, because everything made it seem like the game belonged to him alone. So why was there a trading system, and why did it look like he could trade with someone, too? Because now he didn't have a clue. He does. He decides to put it to the test, so he picks an easy target, selling apples, just to see if the whole system actually works. When he sets the price, he treats it like a joke, so he slams it down to the absolute minimum, just 3 liters. But in real life, that same apple would cost you 10 times more. Still, he barrels ahead with the plan, dying to see if anyone would actually bite. Then boom, the moment he posts the apple for sale, an offer lights up on the board, 1 apple for 3 liters. And right on the heels of that, a new notification pops up asking if he wants to buy the exact same apple. He blinks, totally baffled. None of this makes sense, but curiosity drags him forward, and with only 3 liters on the line, he goes, why not? And hits confirm just to see what chaos unfolds. The second he tries to lock it in, the game snaps back, insufficient balance, and his whole body freezes. He laughs it off at first, then realizes it wasn't a joke at all. The system took him seriously, and the scariest part. If he actually has a balance, then that fake currency isn't fake at all. With trembling hands, he snatches a real coin, glares at the cold metal, and a brutal, sinking suspicion crashes down on him. What if that game is hooked straight to reality? He steels himself and tries again. Then bam, the transaction locks in, and a real apple materializes right in front of his face. Stunned, he gapes at the fruit that just slid out of the game, real, not virtual anymore. And that freaky system, it's messing with reality itself. He slowly stretches his hand, fingertips brushing the apple like it's made of smoke, and the moment it touches, something inside him snaps and remakes itself. His life, once dull and drifting, feels like it's finally about to truly begin. He grips the apple in silence, then a slow, rare smile crawls across his face, almost unreal. For the first time in ages, something really has shifted, and those dark, repetitive days finally start to bloom with color. It all started with a single apple, but that wasn't the point, because behind it was an open door waiting to change everything. Under the starry sky, he takes a bite, and his face freezes with shock as the taw. That flavor hits like nothing he's ever tasted, way beyond anything before. As he chews, it suddenly slaps him. He should have seen what that power could do much sooner. For the first time in his life, something small ignites a real spark right after. A food worker steps in for the fresh haul, drawn in by the fruit's mouth-watering scent and perfect colors. Then she can't help asking if she can taste it, and he says yes on the spot, no hesitation at all. She bites down and instantly jerks back, sweet and soft, nothing like the sour apples everyone in this world chokes on, and he grins, saying his are the real deal, packed with honey inside. And the way she reacts makes it obvious this is priceless. She wastes zero time, grabs a receipt, and shoves it in his hands. 3,000 liters, 3,000, and he can barely wrap his head around what he's seeing. Then she throws out a wild deal. If he can supply those apples exclusively from now on, they'll pay him 500 liters per unit, an insane price way beyond the usual. He nods instantly, eyes blazing. This chance that landed in his lap feels like pure luck. The very next day, he storms in with a massive basket packed with apples, so fast the woman can't believe it, then her face lights up. She locks in the deal right then, 500 liters for every apple. Once the deal is fully sealed, she dumps 25,000 liters into his hands, and he forces a calm face, while pure euphoria surges inside as she asks, "What's your name?" He answers, clearly a little embarrassed. Then Akon, with that warm, gentle smile, says, "I'm Liberia," and promises she's excited to work with him from here on out. Akian, still reeling from everything, whispers his name under his breath, like he's testing whether it even sounds real. In his mind, the memory hits. When he first signed his name at the guild, a tiny, faded moment nobody noticed, and now, for the very first time, someone actually does. Libera calls his name again, Mr. Asian, and that one little detail hits him harder than it should, even as an old man, used to the same cold routine of handing out orders and fading into the background. The way she says his name sparks something alive in him. For the first time, he's not just some nobody. He finally feels the world sees him as a real person. Akon strolls down the streets with a bright, easy smile. His steps feel lighter than they've ever been, and for the first time in ages, he's sure something good is about to hit him. But then his eyes lock onto a scene he knows like the back of his hand. Abandoned kids cowered in the corner, like he used to be, tossed there so someone could feed fewer mouths, and he'd hated that truth, but this time he finally had a way to fight back. This time he doesn't even blink away. Akian steps in with a sly, discreet smile, gripping one of the apples. He tells them, if you want it, take the fruit. Then he stretches out his hand, passing over the food with something simple. But for kids living on the streets, it can mean everything, one meal, and they dive right in, no hesitation at all. Meanwhile, Akon grills them with a few sharp questions and learns they just got here, have nowhere to sleep, and no plan at all. They're only trying to survive. Then they nod, trembling like they don't dare hope. Akihan pauses for a beat and finally says, real quiet, so you're adventurers, yeah. He doesn't even finish the sentence, but you get it. And at that moment he realizes something huge. The lonely life he's lived for so long is finally starting to link up with other people. Akihan marches the three of them straight to the guild, has all of them register as adventurers, then dashes to a shop and grabs a bag for each, just the basics, so they can hit the ground running. Then he lays out simple herbs and shows them exactly how to gather and sell them, basically the same path he once relied on. It wasn't much, but it was a real start, and this time he wanted them to have a genuine shot at moving forward. Later, he watches the three girls kick off their routine, and with the guidance and the tools in their hands, they've finally got what they need to walk on their own. Kian calls out the cheapest place to sleep in the whole city, breaks down exactly how the meals work, and hammers home what they've got to remember so nobody can pull one over on them. Before he left, he shot them a quick good luck nod, waved them off like it was no big deal, and handed the next move straight to them. The three of them whip around, beam with real warmth, and shout their thanks at the top of their lungs. Thank you very much. Kian freezes for a beat, stunned like a light just clicked on. Right there, he finally sees it. They're still kids. Even under the hoods and grime, there's innocence hiding behind every tough stance, and that raw, simple gratitude hits him so hard it knocks the wind out of him. Next week, Akian barrels back into the shop with a fresh load of apples, harvested with real purpose this time. Then he delivers the whole shipment to Liberia, who, as always, greets him with that gentle smile of hers. As she studies the gear, he can't stop thinking about how wild this change has been. Back when he was an adventurer, he barely scraped together 7,000 liters a week even after going nonstop. But now that he's got the game ability, he pulls in up to 25,000 liters weekly, and the best part is he's finally doing something he genuinely loves. Boys, once he finally got what that power is really worth, his life felt lighter, like it finally meant something. But he's still stuck in the cheapest spot in the capital, paying 500 liters per night, and even when he finally gets free time, he can't shut off, he can't relax. He starts asking himself if it's time to quit adventuring and finally buy a house, but he knows he still has to stack up more cash. Then another worry hits. If he floods the market with too many apples, the price will crash. Still, this is his opening at last, and he's gotta think fast and smart so he doesn't waste it. In the end, Akian throws it down to one simple idea: go back to basics and dive into the forest, so he can juggle life between the game and the adventure grind, not bet everything on one route, and keep the apples from turning into a spotlight. Just outside the capital lies a huge forest where newbie adventurers go hunting for medicinal herbs, so Akon, already battle-tested, heads back too, raking an extra coin while he can. One carefully filled bag can net about 1,000 liters, easy and safe, but the grind is relentless. As he's gathering, he can't stop himself. He decides to gamble and push deeper. Their alchemy ingredients are way more valuable, but that's exactly where the monsters that'll tear you apart start showing up. But an idea won't quit. What if he turns these herbs into potions? The money would skyrocket, and he'd finally break free from just selling food. The game won't let him craft potions, because the virtual inventory has 0 herbs, so for a while the world stayed split: use virtual stuff or use real stuff. But after what happened with the apples, Akon's like, wait, maybe that wall isn't unbreakable. So he takes a leap and tries something he's never dared before: selling real items straight into the game. Yeah. He taps open the menu, slides to the trade tab, and types in everything with shaking precision. No flash, no boom, no warning, just a clean disappearance like the system swallowed it whole. Akian freezes. That wasn't some harmless game trick, that was a doorway between worlds. His pulse hammers as he rockets back to the creation menu, thinking, if those herbs truly made it into the system, then maybe real alchemy can finally exist inside the game. He tears through recipes, devours the descriptions, and tests ingredient combos until one plain option clicks into place: a basic health potion. He confirms. The system kicks in, and on the screen, boom, the potion is ready. Akian finally exhales, the breath he didn't even know he'd been clinging to, like a kid who just got away with something. He grins in total silence, like he just cracked a world-hidden secret, and yeah, this isn't mere luck. This is a real breakthrough, the kind that changes everything he'll be able to do from this point on. So here's the next problem: where the heck are they gonna sell these? He knows hospitals, the military, and adventurers all lean on potions, but he can't shake the thought that most of them already have trusted suppliers and their own alchemists on standby. But hey, we've got to start somewhere, the Adventurers Guild. That's where injured people stumble in day after day, where missions demand healing, and where help is always needed, even if it's just something small. Before he heads back to the capital, he runs into the three girls again, and they're glowing with energy, not crushed like last time. Akon slides over some leftover food, like it's the only thing keeping the moment alive. They snap yes with bright smiles and keep thanking him like they mean it, and he waves them off calmly, because he just realized something wild. Even sharing a little food can hit your heart like a warm light, like he's finally starting to belong in the world around him. The very next day, he storms to the guild with those potions in hand. A clerk carefully cracks open the vials and checks them twice, then confirms they're just plain healing potions, and throws out the offer. Akon sells 9 vials, each one hauling 300 liters, so the total hits 2,700 liters, and honestly, that's pretty damn good. But once he adds up the pain of gathering herbs, cleaning them, sorting them, hauling them out, and risking it all in the forest, he finally spots the real issue with this herb root. Doing it all by hand eats up too much time. Still, there's value here, because if he can buy a bag of herbs for 1,000 liters, turn them into potions in the game, and sell each potion for a profitable price, then alchemy could become his second income pillar, way steadier than just living off apples. It hits him like it was always meant to happen. If he could grow herbs without living off the forest, life would get way easier, and he already has the perfect setup. The farm in the game, which right now only grows vegetables, could turn into an herb cultivation field. And if the system lets him feed it real items and convert them into alchemy resources, then he could finally build a flawless loop: plant, harvest, craft, sell, fully in his control. As he seals the deal, guild attendants stare in awe, because it's not every day an old adventurer shows up out of nowhere and starts selling potions. And on top of all that, they keep comments coming steady, solid, and on point, saying it really boosts the guild, then breaking down exactly why. Ever since the city's former alchemist ditched the streets and signed on with the hospital, getting potions has become a nightmare. The clerk tells Akon to keep the potions coming, swears they'll pay him fairly, and says they'll take every single one he can deliver. Akon freezes, shocked, because for the first time in a long time, someone's actually betting on him for something that matters. He freezes for a few heartbeats, gauges the danger, remembers the girls, remembers that hollow emptiness that never leaves him, and then, finally, he accepts it. But right when he's about to leave, the whole vibe flips. Something small goes wrong. A badly worded phrase lands at the worst time, and one wrong step cracks everything open. He shoots a look the wrong way, and Akon realizes he's hit a noblewoman's nerves, too late to take it back, because his body reacts before his brain even catches up. He drops to his knees right away, begging for mercy, desperate to dodge trouble. Then the young woman calmly introduces herself as the founding king of Belstein's daughter, and Akon's heart sinks when he realizes he never even recognized someone so far above him. He slams his head down like a master trying to look humble, but right in the middle of his panic, something snaps his attention. Her feet aren't touching the ground at all. He gulps, dread creeping in, and slowly lifts his eyes, totally lost at what he's seeing. It feels awful, like the moment you realize you've stepped into the wrong place way too late. The young woman watches his face change like it's the funniest thing in the world, then shrugs and says her founding king father died 300 years ago, only for Akon to still not fully get how bad this really is. She decides to teach him for real, because he's clearly missing the whole picture. She talks like it's nothing, like she's just mentioning the weather, but she's the one who mastered magic, reached immortality, and just stands there living on, like time is nothing more than background noise. Kian bolts inside, and for a second his mind screams, what if this is some life-sucking monster, a thing that plays with people? But she slices straight through that fear, cold, calm, and mercilessly honest. She wants no pain, no stolen energy. She's not hunting him, she's just bored, curious, and now she's straight up interested in him. That's when everything spirals. She clocks that something's off about Akon, a weird new smell, a strange mark, like he messed with something that never should have existed. Her sharp eyes say he used an ability to make something impossible, then she digs through the items and proves her hunch is dead on. Her face flips from calm to pure thrilled wonder, like a kid spotting a rare toy for the first time. Akian tries to brush it off, but he can't wriggle out of it. He blurts the confirmation, a little awkward, and then he's hit with the shock. She gets it instantly, like she's been waiting forever to find something just like this. Then the young woman drops her voice and finally spills the real story. She didn't come for nothing. She came for a piece of what he built. She tells him the founding king in his lifetime was always itching for one particular taste, and that craving only grew into a wish that never got to be fulfilled. With a blush that she tried to hide, she straightens her noble posture and tells Akian, plain and direct, to do it again, because this request isn't just polite, it's genuinely crucial. Ikian's stomach drops, he gets nervous, asks for a moment to get his head straight, and can't stop thinking, how did I end up here, and what happens if I refuse? Still, he goes and does it. He whips up the dish, hands it over, and that young woman stares at him with real curiosity, like she's witnessing a tiny, personal miracle right in front of her. Then she tells him to hold on for a second. Before he can even blink, she's gone, and Aekyon stands there stunned, clueless how she vanished that fast. Moments later, she pops back out of nowhere like she just slipped to the side. With a smug little smile, she congratulates him and thrusts a tiny reward into his hands, shocking him so hard he doesn't even see it coming. Those cherries are blindingly gorgeous, too beautiful to be ordinary. Akon leans in and asks what they are, and the young woman just smirks, saying he'll get it the second he takes a bite. She slips away with effortless elegance like this is totally normal, but right before she goes, she drops a weird warning. If he's got anything to shield him from the rain, use it now. Right after that, heavy rain slams down outside, and Aekian just stares, maddened, because the tent rental he paid for wipes out the potion profits he'd been counting on. Cherry in hand, he freezes. He doesn't know what to do, and even his curiosity turns into uneasy dread, because this isn't just any gift, it came from an immortal queen, and that alone feels like a warning. He can't stop thinking about eating them, then planting them in the game, then selling them, and even with her showing him gratitude, a part of him still screams this could be risky, so he hesitates. Then he does the one thing he always does when reality starts to get confusing. He checks the game system, and when he taps the menu, the item shows up as a golden fruit, yet the minimum selling price is absurdly cheap, like 1 measly liter. Akehan freezes, stunned. How could something this mysterious be worth so little? He even thinks about messing with the price to rake in a huge profit, but the moment the idea hits, a weird gut feeling claws at him, like he's pushing his luck way too far. Deep down, he isn't trying to smash the system. He's playing just to breathe, sticking to easy or normal so his mind doesn't spin out until he starts to notice something else unfolding. One of the seeds he'd planted is already breaking through the soil, and the herbs he's been nursing are thriving too, so he can't help but brighten up, like the world is finally answering his hard work. Everything's going right, and for the first time in ages, he thinks it might be time to take on a new mission. After he finishes a task in the game, Akin can't shake one thought anymore. What does he really want to do from here? He's pushing for a better life, real stability, no more just survive, like he's finally done with running on fumes, but even with all that, something still feels missing. Because if it was only comfort, selling apples once a week would have fixed it, and yet it doesn't. It feels like he's trading one cage for a softer one, hollow and quiet, and with a far-off stare, he grips an item like it might be the answer. But deep down he knows he's not chasing a pause button. He wants more than autopilot living. Akon still doesn't know what he's truly hunting for, so he keeps playing, keeps thinking, and asks himself, what now? Peace is right there if the money keeps flowing, the routine stays locked in, and food is guaranteed, but even with all that comfort, he feels a hole in his chest, like he's stuck on autopilot, just running on luxury. With a sharp glint in his eyes and the controller clutched in his hands, he blurts out a single word before he can even stop himself. Adventure. And suddenly stepping out of his comfort zone starts to feel real, like something deep inside him is waking up. The more he thinks, the clearer it gets. This isn't just a craving for thrills, it's an old, suffocated hunger he's been trying to bury for years. He remembers exactly how that world runs. Adventurers with no fight skills get stamped as iron rank, and the whole system treats them like manual labor, and boom, he recognizes himself in that label instantly. He's not even mad at the idea by itself, but the ugly truth is this: neither him nor the old adventurer he inherited could ever really laugh it off. They did it because they had to, not because they wanted to. Survival, not a dream, and even knowing the effort wasn't totally wasted, that gut-empty feeling still hangs on, that same sense that you're always one step behind the whole world. Alone in that tent as the rain hammered outside, Aekian finally gets it. He wasn't chasing missions at all. He was craving one thing: someone to see him as a real person, not the old man who grabs cheap jobs or the Apple guy. He remembers Liberia calling his name with kindness, the girls thanking him from the bottom of their hearts, and even the guild clerks quietly counting on him for the potions, little moments of gratitude that used to feel painfully rare. Now that he finally understands what his game ability can do, hope hits him like a jolt. This might be his one real shot to change everything. If he lets it slip, he'll feel like he threw away the only truly special thing he's ever had. So a new drive ignites. He wants to do something that matters, leave a mark, and make people look back and realize he was here. On that stormy night, he keeps digging into himself, because what even makes a real adventurer? Raw strength, fearless courage, or some legendary name everyone knows? And just like always, dungeons slam into his mind, the classic trial that decides who levels up and who gets left behind, with that spiraling through his. He nods off and tumbles into a heavy dream, yanked by an old memory of that legendary adventurer, the first time, back when he was young, he ever faced a goblin. It was an escort mission, 2 battle-hardened veterans and 3 rookies packed together just to back them up, and the air felt electric with talk of exploring a dungeon together after this, half-broken promises, and a future that actually seemed within reach, until the goblins finally showed up and ripped it all apart. While the others scrambled to respond, the boy just froze, couldn't move a muscle, mind went totally blank, and pure terror locked him in place like a statue, because in that instant he was already certain he'd failed. After the mission, one of the veterans lit up and praised 2 rookies for their performance, then pulled them into the group, and they said yes on the spot, buzzing with excitement. He went for the 3rd rookie too, but before he could even crack a word, the other 2 brushed past him like he wasn't there and kept going. He shot out his hand to stop them, but it was already over, and he got left behind. Akon jolts awake, gasping like he's relived it all, and those crushing memories slam down on him again. After that day, the old man shut his mouth for good and never spoke to those companions again. Years later, he caught sight of them once more, now wrapped in luxurious armor, totally unrecognizable from before, but not one of them reached out, not even once. And in the silence after that, the truth hit hard. Some people surge forward, while others get left behind. With his feelings ripped wide open, Akon shuts his eyes and fights the tears, because mistakes and regrets keep replaying, while other people move on without him. He realizes he's drowning in memories he never asked for, but right in the middle of the hurt, something changes, and unexpected strength clicks into place inside him. He raises his head, locks eyes with the empty tent, and even on his own lets a promise hang there so everyone can see it. He's still got something to prove. A week later, Akon stands on the guild's training field, gripping. Clutching a spear with shaky nerves, he kept fiddling with how it felt and how to wield it, like the weapon was still new to him, while everyone around him trained like a storm, hitting targets, trading strikes with laser-precise control. He could feel how far behind he was, how ridiculous he might look, and yet, he forced himself forward and took his first step. During the break, the eye-patched man leans back, then casually snaps, "Come here," and pulls him in. Akian stumbles through his words, until the moment he finally recognizes him. That one-eyed ex-adventurer, now a guild combat instructor, flashes a grin and says he's heard Akian's been doing great lately, while Akian just stands there, baffled, because he barely even started, and the instructor keeps smiling like he already knows everything. He'd heard rumors about potions, sales, and even Akian buying herbs from kids, and that blindsided Akian, shame and surprise crashing together. With no idea what to say, he finally spills the truth. It all yanked him back to how it felt back in his youth. Then the instructor fires a question right at the bulls. "So why are you training with weapons? An alchemist doesn't even need to step into battle." The words hit Akian hard and he starts to answer, only to fumble over his thoughts, tripping on every word. The instructor suddenly erupts in laughter, but Akon has zero patience. He rips into him, dead serious. He shoots out an apology, and when his voice shifts, the advice hits like real concern instead of a scolding. Don't act on impulse. Then Akon confirms he gets it, though he's still burning with irritation. But you can tell, even through that calm smile, the instructor is genuinely watching out for him. After training, Eshin decides to hit the public bathhouse to unwind and rinse the sweat off before heading back to the inn. Yet on the way there, he keeps trying to shove his instructor's words out of his head, telling himself it doesn't touch him. But yeah, it's getting under his skin. With the street noise fading, his thoughts finally sharpen. Then dinner pops into his head, and just as he's about to decide, a call cuts him off. There they are, the 3 girls, grinning with pure excitement as they push fresh herbs to sell, just like they always have. Akian grins and promises he'll foot the bill for everything, so the whole crew erupts in celebration right away because he's. With a stack of stuff in his arms, he tells them to haul the items straight to the inn, and they jump on it, energized and practically proud. As he watches the 3 sprint off, laughing and chatting, Akin realizes his life has flipped more than he ever pictured, and now he can't stop thinking about what their future will look like. He's pushing them to become adventurers. Yeah, he wants that, but even if they don't take that road, he still hopes they'll grow independent, build a solid life with dignity, and then he spots a tiny detail that hits him like a shock. For the first time, he's mature enough to worry about something that, back then, would have never even crossed his mind. Later, sprawled on the plane in bed, Akon replays it all in his head, because even in a cheap room, he's sure he's changed something, especially with the girls who sell herbs. One of them even blurts out that soon they'll be buying weapons because of him, and right in the middle of that hype, he doubts everything. Is he rushing on impulse, or is this real maturity, or is he just getting dragged back by nostalgia, by that spark of youth that's resurfacing in him? He goes quiet, stuck in his own head, then his choice lands like a promise. He refuses to be left behind again. With pure stubborn focus, Akon grips the controller tight and dives into the game's tasks like he's about to prove something. Fishing, cultivating, harvesting, then whipping up potions, one step after another, like a battle training montage, not just to earn coin, but to sharpen himself for whatever's coming next. Before he can even blink, night already drapes the world in darkness, and he's exhausted, thinking going out to eat is going to be a total headache. So he starts eyeing a straight-up grab from the game, just like he's pulled off before, remembering the last time he materialized a full spread, rice, pork, and all the side dishes, like a whole perfect meal popping into existence. Then out of nowhere, it hits him. He remembers the golden fruit Lady Falmery handed to him. He stares at the inventory item, and there it is, fully ripened, and he can't ignore it now, like the perfect moment finally just showed up. He stares at the screen as the tree grows, remembering it took a whole week longer than every other crop, and when he finally harvests, the screen erupts with bright, gorgeous fruits so beautiful they don't even look real. He cups the fruits in his hands, leaning in with curiosity, then decides to pull them straight out of the game, gripping them until their real weight hits him, like a silent warning pressing into his palm. After weeks of pure hesitation, he finally takes a bite of that golden fruit, and boom, the flavor hits like lightning, blazing sweet, intense, and just a little sharp with sour notes. Kian's blown away, and suddenly he's remembering the luxury cherries he'd gotten before. With a grin on his face, he blurts that it's delicious. Then, once he's done, he exhales like a weight just slid off his shoulders, and all that panic turns out to be way overblown. And in the end, all that's left is the pit, yet somehow it feels like it was all worth it, right as he finally collapses to rest. A weird sound slams into his mind. He jerks his hand to his chest, sick with discomfort, desperate to figure out what in the world is happening. The sound slams into him like it's bouncing around inside his skull, and then boom, a crisp, celebratory message lights up. Congratulations. That notification keeps hitting. Akian's jaw drops as he reads it. He just gained +1 inch in strength, unlocked a brand new power, and it's called *Nightmare Daywalker ***. Kian freezes, staring at his own hands, and when the name hits him, Daywalker, ice-cold dread crawls straight up his spine. Walker, that makes his mind snap back to vampire stories, and he starts scrambling to rationalize it. He tells himself it's only a name, but fear still clamps onto his chest like a vice. Next morning, he creeps outside and dares to face his worst fear, the sunlight, and when it doesn't hurt him, he exhales in relief, though his nerves still sting, and the sharp fangs that showed up the night before are gone. Even so, the thought of being a vampire, or anything like it, still sends chills down my spine. Daywalkers can blaze through the sun, but they're still daywalkers, and that doubt won't let me stand still. Kian bolts into the forest to corner Lady Falmery and demand answers, and right on his way, he spots too many people than usual out gathering herbs, like the rain just supercharged the plants overnight, and he keeps pushing deeper, scrambling to lock down the exact spot. He rushes over, calls her name again and again, and still gets nothing. Then the hours crawl by, and the sky finally turns pitch black. And he remembers, because last time she showed up at night, so he stays on alert, and when darkness finally drops, she just materializes behind him out of nowhere, like the air itself sprouted her. Kian jolts back in shock, opens his mouth to snap back, but she slams right over him, cutting him off on the spot. What do you want? She's grinning at his reaction like it's pure comedy, watching him with total curiosity. Kian scrambles to explain what happened, and she cuts in mid-story to talk about the fruit he ate, calling it God's unintentional love, a wildly absurd, over-the-top name for something that to everyone else was just some rare fruit. According to her, the fruit can pull off a bunch of weird effects, but most of the time it just gives a tiny boost to your abilities. 1 in a billion actually unlocks a special power. And after what happened to Akian, it looks like he hit that insane lottery. He's completely baffled, while she's already getting snappish about having to spell it out. She even talks about how some effects can strip someone of their humanity like it's just a fun little fact, and that's what makes the whole thing feel even more disturbing. Exhausted, Falmery triggers something mysterious, and Akon suddenly feels it latch onto his hand. He snaps, "What was that?" But she only tells him to accept it. Kian blurts out a praise on his command, still totally bewildered, and shoots his hands up. A screen pops up like an RPG status panel, blasting his stats in front of him. Human, decent strength and stamina, but trash luck and barely any magic. Then the abilities reveal the real nightmare, proving what he feared and what he didn't even realize was inside him. Game Nightmare Daywalker, and a magic type called Praise. Kian freezes in place, stunned and completely lost, while Falmery, of all people, stares him down with a look that's not amused at all, but sharper, more attentive, almost worried. And then a young warrior squares off with another person in a pitch-dark emptiness, heart pounding, as old resentment claws its way back to the surface. He admits that back then, he was holding onto crushing grudges he never let go of. But now he realizes something inside him has shifted, because the answer that used to feel impossible now hits him with zero effort, like it was always there. He's finally broken free from hatred, and you can feel that hard-earned maturity in his voice, calm, controlled, and distant, because when he shuts the conversation down, it's crystal clear. He doesn't want contact anymore. He walks off, shrinking into a lonely silhouette as he leaves, while the other person just freezes, stunned, faintly shaken, finally grasping that this isn't a pause, it's the end, and something important has just slipped away forever. The other one finally owns it, admitting they were the first to abandon him, and you can feel the room sink under regret, tight with pain that won't let go. Right after that, the story snaps to a bustling city, and the mage gets surrounded. People shout for him to come talk, like it's urgent. Once he clocked it, frustration surged and self-criticism bit hard, like the past choices were finally cashing in and demanding payment. A squad of armed soldiers tightens a deadly circle around a young man, showing they've contained the threat, without anyone bigger getting caught in the blast. Right after that, the scene snaps to the outside of a huge building, where the kid gets paid for what he just did. He stares at the money, shocked beyond belief, and you can tell that even after everything, that brutal showdown still somehow worked out in his favor. After he gets the money, the young adventurer stares at his payment and starts rethinking his whole life, because the payout is way better than plain chores, but the farther he goes, the bigger the dangers hit. Sitting by himself, he goes still and weighs every choice, wondering if he's brave enough to keep walking this path. As he stares at that coin in his palm, a hard truth hits him. Money isn't everything, and the thrill of adventure always comes with a brutal price. Perched at the window's edge, the young adventurer stares out as a bird streaks across the sky like it owns the world, and in his palm the coin still burns, so he sinks into thought, fighting with himself about why he's really doing all this and whether the road he picked is truly his. After wrestling with money and responsibilities, the adventurer finally gets the truth. He doesn't want riches, he wants the adventure itself, and once his heart locks in, he straight up admits he'd rather live the journey than just chase gold. Chase the world, feel your pulse in every step, and that's exactly why he sets one simple rule for himself. Keep adventuring, but make it safe and fun, so he can find real meaning in the road he's walking. The adventurer strides through the city with his backpack strapped tight, hungry to reach the capital and smash forward with his journey. Then a surprise voice snaps from behind, and he whirls around, stunned. Right after that, panic snaps the moment into motion when someone rushes in and calls him to the reception room, because something big is about to hit, and his plans are about to get wrecked. In a fancy room, a noble-looking woman watches the adventurer in calm silence, holding a fan up just enough to hide part of her face. He drops into the seat opposite her, all jitter and tension, and waits, fully braced, to hear why she dragged him in like that. The room feels stiff with tension, like everyone's holding their breath, because in the air, there's a huge request coming, one that could totally swing the fate of his journey. With a confident grin, the woman finally spills her real motive. She needs the adventurer to make a delivery to a specific spot, and the whole request hits him like a red flag, instantly making him cautious. Then she slams him with an old debt from the past, and uses it like a lever to force him to bend. She cuts him off before he can even think of refusing, then makes it crystal clear. This favor is a debt he's paying now, locking him into a brand new obligation he never saw coming. The woman slams new job rules on the table, one delivery, no help, not even a second person, and that cold demand cranks the suspicion even higher. The adventurer finally clocks that the debt he owes her is way inflated and just being used as a squeeze, yet somehow he still caves in. Meanwhile, right as they're talking, the door bursts open, and someone else walks in, boom, everything freezes, and you just know this negotiation isn't done surprising them yet. The noble woman finally drops the reward, and if he completes the job, his rank jumps from iron to bronze. The offer knocks him off balance, way bigger than anything he expected, and now he can't stop wondering if he really deserves something this huge. It hits him like a thunderclap. This isn't just another offer, it's a career-breaking leap, because almost no ordinary adventurer ever manages to rank up, and this proposal is his one rare shot to rewrite his destiny. The noblewoman flips her tone on a dime and warns him, icy and unmistakable, that her patience has a hard breaking point. With the pressure crushing him, the adventurer finally caves in, still hesitant, but he grabs the mission anyway, kicking off the next chapter of his journey, shaped by a choice that wasn't truly his. This mission is pure death: smuggle a rare egg all the way to a far-off mountain, wrapped in an ancient dragon legend. The thing was tied down. Had been stolen recently, so every side snapped into action to track it down. Since the kingdom couldn't strike directly, they fired off messengers one by one, only for the road to swarm with traps, criminals, and killers. And the worst part, nobody can tell which egg is the real one, so every delivery turns into a blood-pounding sprint against assassins who'll do anything to snatch it first. As the adventurer presses for answers on why the kingdom is going this hard, the real story behind the mission finally comes to light, back when things began. Back when the kingdom was still tiny, a terrifying dragon burst onto the scene, raging out of control and tearing everything to pieces. The clash raged for days, then the founding king finally stood toe-to-toe with the creature in a no-turning-back battle. Because of that ancient war, the Dragon Lord's name still hits like a curse, and the kingdom treads on anything tied to him with pure, deadly caution. Turns out the founding king didn't slaughter the Dragon Lord. He dropped his sword and listened, and that's when he realized the dragon was the one ravaging the kingdom. It was hunting the one who killed its mate, and the king stepped in with a brutal offer. "I'll hunt down the real culprit and hand him over, if you promise to stand down." That deal flipped the whole conflict on its head, forged a fragile bond between the kingdom and the dragon, and that's why everyone still handles this matter with such careful respect to this day. The king and the dragon lord shook hands on a deadly pact. Each one agreed to mop up the mess the other party left behind. Thanks to this deal, dragon raids on the kingdom steadily crushed, year after year, until the attacks all but disappeared. Still, sparks of conflict popped up now and then, but the wise kept them in check to protect the balance. After hearing all of this, the adventurer realizes that this ancient promise is still steering the world today, and his mission is just another piece of the fragile deal between humans and dragons. The tale hits the adventurer like a spark, and suddenly the king's old proverb clicks with something from another culture, pointing to a wild origin, and now he can't stop picturing a whole different past, where that ruler lived quietly, chasing simple joys. While he keeps pushing down the road, a tiny envy sparks in his chest, because sure, they took similar routes, but somehow their paths split into totally different worlds. Then, deep in the forest, the adventurer starts spotting eerie signs all around him. After days of doubt, it all clicks. He finally grasps the truth. Calm evaporates, assassins are trailing him, and the tension keeps climbing until it's clear. Danger is right around the corner. Even when exhaustion weighs him down, the adventurer refuses to drop his guard as he pushes through the forest. Then he realizes that, because of his special abilities, his body barely wears out, his senses stay razor-sharp, and he can feel presences from far away. Hunted and knowing it, he refuses to stop and rest, because this mission isn't just about carrying the object. He has to stay alive and keep the enemy at bay all the way to his destination. The adventurer gets it. His job is to bait the assassins, while the soldiers wait for the exact moment to strike when the opening finally shows. After days of travel, he finally storms up to the foot of the mountain, still wrapped in tension, but then it hits him. There's not a single soldier in sight, and that terrifying silence makes him fear the whole plan fell apart, or something much worse already struck. As he closes in on his destination, the adventurer realizes the special fruits he's been munching have boosted his strength. His stats shot up, and the trip suddenly feels quicker and safer than ever, but his luck stays cursedly low. Still, he doesn't stop, he pushes on. Right as he was almost there, something unseen surged closer out of nowhere, snapping the quiet of the trail deep in the forest. Two assassins finally step into view before the adventurer, one standing tall with total confidence, the other limping and bleeding, but both of them make one thing crystal clear: they're here to snatch everything he's carrying. No hints, no escape. This is a direct, deadly threat that flips the whole moment into a point of no return. And suddenly, the delivery isn't the mission anymore, it's a life-or-death fight. The adventurer spots one of the enemies and freezes. This guy is a notorious wanted criminal, infamous and insanely dangerous. He realizes this man's tied to a legendary warrior's past, and suddenly the whole showdown feels way more dangerous. Then the name hits, leaving everyone rattled and tense with confusion. This isn't some run-of-the-mill ambush. Something bigger is brewing, and when the enemy's name hits, old memories slam back into the adventurer's mind. He remembers this guy back when he was one of his first companions, absolutely rock solid, overflowing with promise. Realizing that, for all that untapped promise, he still spiraled into a life of crime, leaves a bitter taste in your mouth, because not everyone gets the future they once swore was guaranteed. This forces the adventurer to take it dead seriously, with emotions hitting way harder than before. Cold-hearted assassin lunges from behind, slamming the adventurer in the back and yanking hard at the bag he clutches, so swift and brutal there's not a breath of time for words. Even hurt, the young man desperately fights to stay upright, as everything explodes into a brutal scramble for the one object he's guarding with his life. The assassin smirks like it's over, coldly insisting the adventurer is gone, then shoves his partner to snatch the object and bolt before reinforcements crash the scene. because right there, it feels like the hero has truly been beaten, and the enemy is already trying to escape with the very thing he fought to protect. The assassins rip open the stolen bag and realize they got played. There's no real prize inside, just fake stuff meant to trick them. They snap that the victim looks weak, but they can't ignore it. This person is way too tough to be ordinary. It hits them all at once. The real target was just smoke and mirrors because the item was never even there, and while they're busy jeering at the man they struck, they've already walked straight into a trap, and the assassins start replaying their mistake, and it clicks. This weak adventurer is actually packing stronger protection than he lets on, and that's exactly why he survived the attack. Still, since they're sure he's already out of the fight, they decide he was nothing but a reckless, overconfident fool. Then they rush to loot his stuff, smug as if the victory's already theirs, never once realizing they could still be tricked. Even sprawled on the ground, the adventurer's not finished. When the threat hits its worst, a special mechanism snaps on, and that hidden power finally wakes up. Just as his body teeters on the edge of collapse, something deep inside him ignites, like the fight isn't finished at all, and a massive reversal is about to slam the outcome wide open. The assassins kick back, cracking jokes and grinning like nothing can touch them, because they're convinced everything is already under control. One of them mutters about terrible luck and insists it's all handled. Then the mood flips in the blink of an eye, their confidence cracking as they start to doubt. And one of their faces snaps to shock, realizing way too late that things went sideways, and then boom, the adventurer shoots up, fully alive, steering everything like they planned it all. Cold smirk on his face, he drops one assassin fast, snaps him into a hostage, and leaves the other frozen in shock, because the trap just got flipped on them. The guy who looked finished is back on top, barking orders like he owns the battlefield. And the real showdown finally ignites. The adventurer finally flips the switch, cold, ruthless, and merciless, sneering at his enemies with pure contempt while keeping the entire battle locked under his control. He sneers that people like them only stay alive by crushing everyone else. Then, every single time, they end up falling anyway. The danger is crystal clear now. He's standing on top of it all, and those assassins realize too late they picked a target far deadlier than they ever imagined. The swordsman lunges forward in a rage, lifting his blade high, ready to cut the adventurer's head off. Right in the next heartbeat, the protagonist calmly snatches the sword by the blade and cuts off the attack before it lands, then slides in behind the enemy with a cocky grin, like he's fully in control. The swordsman bolts into the open, unleashing his speed ability to tear across the field, yet panic keeps snapping at his heels. From far away, the protagonist follows him with unshakable calm. It snaps him back to reality, dead weight, the way they used to treat him. So cornered and humiliated, the swordsman bares his teeth and snarls, "Shut up." The swordsman snaps in a violent outburst, spilling every ounce of frustration from years of failed attempts and humiliating jobs just to keep himself alive. He talks about the crushing pressure to always chase something bigger and how every mistake weighs like a boulder. The protagonist just stares in silence until he snaps the moment with one word, and then he's ready to answer. Akon snaps into action the second Ben swings at him, slipping the hit with insane speed while flashing a provocative look. The adventurer grins with total confidence at his enemy, daring him to look back, because the past mistakes can't be erased. The swordsman answers with nothing but silence, shaken to the core by the taunt. The fallen warrior drops to his knees and begs for mercy, spilling that he has a daughter, then vows to fight for her after losing everything. He pleads for empathy, but his opponent shoots back with a cold grin, shrugs off every plea, and calls him a fool for thinking anyone will understand, because even as he begs for his daughter, the man gets slammed by the horrors of his own bloody past. He gets branded a hypocrite for begging for salvation only for his own child, while he's already shattered other families. Guilt crashes down on him and fury erupts. The protagonist swings in and lands the fatal blow on Ben, cutting his life short for good. The moment it hit, it finally sank in. He'd just taken a life for the first time. An old friend who'd plunged headfirst into the dark. After he kills Ben cold as ice, he tries to tell himself it was self-defense, but the real shock hits him, not a shred of guilt, and he can't shake the fear that it's all thanks to his Nightwalker power. Then right before his eyes, Ben crumbles and disintegrates into a thick, viscous sludge. Soon after, someone heckles him for his over-the-top performance during the confrontation ends in horror. After the dust settles, the protagonist finds nothing left of Ben but his severed head. He wrestles with the safest way to carry it without it turning. He even debates salting, like it'll save the day, even though he's never done that before in his life. Still tangled in vampire logic, he stares at the head in his hands, then it hits him. a wild idea, awesome or disastrous, he can't even tell yet. The hero plugs Ben's head into a game system, and just like that, it turns into a digital item, and when it actually works, he's stunned, blurting that he never thought you could cram a real human inside a game. Thanks to the exchange system, he can keep real-world items safe from decay, and it honestly feels like the perfect convenience. The protagonist fires up the game system again to yank out the Dragon Lord's egg he'd stashed away as backup, and his jaw drops when he realizes even living beings can be stored and swapped like data. He heard the princess's brutal warning, protect that egg no matter what, and it hit him right then. Thanks to that power, he just dodged a disaster that could have ruined everything. With the coast finally clear, the protagonist grips the Dragon Lord's egg and decides to keep going, alone, while holding his power back from the powerful being. He strolls along, calm as can be, until a dark voice snaps the moment, calling him a human. Feel an imposing presence looming right in front of him. The protagonist is hit with an in-your-face stare from the one and only Dragon Lord, who radiates pure authority as he holds an egg close to his chest. Then he turns that question on him. Was he sent by the king's daughter? Stunned and drenched in sweat, the protagonist finally feels the full weight of what's happening. The protagonist squared up against the towering Dragon Lord, and the beast demanded the egg back, right then and there. With nerves snapping at his heels, he shoots it over right away, and telekinesis yanks it back in seconds. Caught off guard by the technique, he confirms the power is truly magical, and the dragon nods, accepting that the return has arrived. After saving the egg and wiping out the thieves, the protagonist earns the ultimate prize. He gets to ask one single question. Then the Dragon Lord drops the truth. Ben didn't just turn into slime after getting drained because of luck. It happened for one exact reason. He says it's because his body can't carry the king's essence, and he flat out warns, if the protagonist ever runs into someone who stays whole after getting drained, don't you dare let your guard down. After he hands over the egg and gets that cryptic answer, the protagonist's jaw drops again, because the Dragon Lord suddenly waves him off and calls him the strange king of the night. Shocked and terrified by how the creature seemed to know everything, he just stared as the dragon lifted off and vanished, his heart churning with fear and pure confusion. After that brutal run-in with the Dragon Lord, the battered protagonist finally drags himself back home. He sprints back to the royal capital, and as soon as he finally arrives, a cheerful girl spots him right away, breaks into a grin, and calls out his name, Akon. Back in the royal capital, Akon gets greeted with open smiles by a shop girl who beams and cheers him for making it back safely. She says Liberia wants him badly, especially since the grapes he brought became a huge sales hit and the news about it went crazy. Akon starts eyeing potion sales, even daydreams about renting an apartment, because this business suddenly feels like it could actually blow up. Kian's face turns serious as he tells the girl he has to talk about a wanted notice. Then he slaps the poster onto the table like it's trouble, because it's got something about him that just might be scary and needs to be handled now. The girl spots the wanted poster and blurts out, "So you're asterisk really going through with this, Akon?" Nervous, she admits the client is a noble, and if she's wrong, the fallout could be brutal. The pressure is crushing. Kian leans in and says he's ready to push forward, even if it means he has to call that person directly to clear everything up. In the guild's meeting room, an iron-fisted authority cornered Akon over the wanted notice, and the crushing pressure she brought down on him made his next move feel inevitable. He answers with shaky nerves, and she cuts straight through the silence, no stalling, just straight to the point. And he cracks open the box, officially kicking off the whole case discussion. Ken shoved Ben's head forward as proof, claiming he'd carried out every demand in the wanted notice. Then the bombshell hit, stunning everyone there and one of the knights. Fury and disbelief blaze in him as he hurls accusations at Acheon, claiming he's lying and plotting just to grab the reward. He can't accept that someone like Acheon could have beaten Ben, the demon's swordsman. Now the distrust and tension hang heavy in the air. Acheon snaps and decides to end it. He admits he's just a regular adventurer, says he doesn't even care about the reward anymore, and straight up declares the whole situation unbearable. Right as he rises to leave, someone blocks his path and with careful hands lifts the cloth off the head. It's real, and there's not a single doubt left in my mind. The guild leader slams the verdict down and confirms the head Acheon brought is exactly what they've been hunting for, then gives him full recognition for the job he did. She swallows her pride, apologizes for her subordinate's rudeness, and calls in the commercial guild staff to make the reward official. The rebellious knight keeps roaring on, still stuck in disbelief and fury over the trust they've handed to Acheon. The commander plants herself like a wall and declares, cold and unshakable, that she'll bring Ben's head back no matter what gets in the way. Cornered, the rebellious knight swallows his pride, blurts out an apology, and gets cut off for good, while Akon, stunned by her authority, tries and fails to hide the fear crawling up as he watches. After pressing his fingerprint onto the contract, Akian seals the delivery for real, then gets thanked for everything he did. Just as he's about to leave, a clerk stops him. Wait. After he gives his name, it's clear there's more to uncover, like the real talk hasn't even started yet. Leaving Akon with his gut twisted, suspicious, and braced for whatever was coming. The commander strides back in, formally announces she's Zara Gant Haklaziare, and pours out a heartfelt thanks to Akian for all his help. Stunned and deeply touched by the kindness from someone who looked so intimidating, Akian falls silent and watches, because the shift in their attitude hits her like a wave. After everything that just went down, Liberia finally exhales in a calmer chat, then blurts out how shocked she is that Akon snagged a wanted criminal, only for Akon to grin and joke that Liberia's handling more than just fresh produce. She cracks a joke, basically admitting she only took the job because she had no choice, then drops a brutal comparison, like a severed head is just fresh produce, and leaves Akin visibly shaken. Liberia urges Akon to cash out the promissory note he got, because it might not pan out for him, and Akon agrees. She quickly pitches the idea, open a bank account through the commercial guild too, and with bright eyes she promises him, hand over your money to them and you'll get amazing returns. Akin agrees to open an account with the commercial guild, and he can't help laughing at how Liberia's suddenly talking like a full-on bank salesperson. With that powerhouse focus, she kicks off the opening process right away, so sharp, so efficient. Akian watches her like a pro, and it slams into him. There's still something important he needs to ask. Akian leans in and asks if there's any way to pull off a donation for an orphanage. He spills the truth. He's not doing this from guilt. He's getting yanked by an impulse, like old Ben's spirit is steering his hand, and the place he's set on helping is exactly where, the rumors swear, Ben's daughter, the criminal he took down, still lives. After finishing every procedure and heading back to the inn, Akin can't shake what's been clawing at him since he returned to the capital, because with only 1,000 ghouls are left, and determination burns bright in his eyes. So he taps into his appraisal ability and dives in to figure out what's been haunting him. Akian grins and confirms it. Sprint and Silent Step have officially made it into his repertoire. After wiping out Ben, he suddenly puts the pieces together. Sprint was one of the powers the enemy kept talking about. So now he can't shake the gut feeling that his nightmare daywalker power lets him steal abilities from other fighters. But how on earth is he supposed to prove that, without having to turn someone into slime all over again? Lying in the inn, Akian shuts his eyes and begs for sleep, but everything that just happened keeps clawing at his mind. Even though he keeps telling himself it's just luck, that restless unease won't quit. Restless and wide awake, he snaps out of bed and heads out for a drink, something he hasn't done in ages. Akyon heads straight into the city bar to snag alcohol, because in the game he's stuck only making tea and juice. The bartender grumbles that today drags because a rare dream fruit shop just opened, brought in by an adventurer who came back from a dungeon, and that's when Akon's eyes light up, because he remembers. Dream fruit ferments into top-shelf alcohol. When the bartender pushes snacks with the drinks, Akon shuts him down fast. He says he can grab snacks straight from the game. Carrying the drink back to his room, Akin can't help but think getting smashed at the bar alone would change nothing, because he'd still be alone either way. Then he starts wondering. If he shared a drink with friends, would it actually hit different? And yeah, he even thinks ahead. If all he's got is grapes, then making wine is the smart move, because he can't just sell fruit forever. Lost in his own thoughts, Akon takes one step, and then he's ambushed out of nowhere. He starts by thinking it's some random attacker, but then it hits him, and he realizes the guy is a former member of Zira's team. Rage swallowed the man whole, so he blamed Acheon for getting thrown out of the group, then surged at him, aching for revenge. Akian finally clicks, this attacker really was left behind by the team. Then he snaps back to reality and realizes his fury is totally misdirected, because they're in a public place. He bolts to avoid sparking an even bigger commotion, while he scrambles to find somewhere to hide. Zira's old companion storms after him in full fury, refusing to let him slip away. Right after that off-screen clash, Akon feels it click. His power has leveled up, and the taunt is now part of the deal. He tries to stash the enemy's muddy corpse in the game, and boom, turns it into fertilizer, even snagging a top-tier compost recipe, and when he sees it, he's stunned. He admits he just wanted to test his power, but he never, ever expected something this weird. Reeling from everything that just happened, Akon suddenly can't even stand the thought of drinking. then he spirals back to that nightmare daywalker power, convinced it lets him steal abilities from his enemies. Realizing what this find could mean, he decides to stash the drink in the game for now. As he pulls it off, a brand new mission pops open: track down the fermentation method, then head to the guild to check the full details. Akian storms into the guild to verify the fresh mission details, and his jaw drops when a brand new quest pops up, because he was sure he'd already cleared them all. The mission, called Brewing Quest ***, forces him to hunt down 10 Trentwoods ***, and **1 Dreamfruit ***, rare stuff he can't grab in his current area, and adventurers can't just ship it over either. These ingredients only come through trade, and he instantly clocks the Trentwoods as dungeon monster loot, while remembering how insanely rare Dreamfruit is, the kind that shows up in top-tier alcoholic drinks. Can't get a wink of sleep, Akian storms out for a drink to clear his head. Still shaken by everything that happened, he decides to hit the city, grab a bottle of alcohol, and drink it all by himself. A few days slide by after the mission, and then boom, the brewing method unlocks. The protagonist snaps back into his routine, hawking potions and fruit at the training center, and whenever he's got extra fruit, he quietly offers it to the lonely female staff members. Even though he knows he has to push on with the mission, he keeps stalling, because nobody set a deadline, so urgency never hits. The protagonist learns the hard truth from the commercial guild. Turns out the royal city doesn't have the mission supplies at all. Cornered with no other choice, he slams his decision down. He's got to head into a dungeon. Akian tells himself to ditch this place fast, because the sooner he's gone, the better. He tears through his prep, packs his gear, lines up his luggage, and pulls out every single item he'll need for the mission inside the dungeon. Akian launches into the night, locked in on the West City dungeon. Even with his excitement blazing, a wave of embarrassment hits him hard as he climbs into the carriage, knowing the ride will take around 5 days. Akon ditches the carriage and sprints to the dungeon, betting that speed will save him time. Driven to find out just how many days he can slash off his timeline, he pushes forward and keeps running, fueled by pure determination. During a break, he finally caught his breath, right before everything changed. Akon sticks to his everyday grind, playing like it's the only thing that matters. He figures out that shuttling stuff from the real world into the game and back scrubs it spotless, so he uses it to wash his towel, but then he hits the hard truth: it won't undo any damage the items have already taken. Akon clings to a brutal daily routine, and every day he chomps golden cherries to crank up his attributes. His stats skyrocket, brand new abilities unlock, but bad luck still clings to him just a little. Even so, he stays locked in, steady, disciplined, and relentless, after sprinting without stopping for 3 straight days. Akihan steps into the western city for the first time, and the moment he arrives, he's blown away by how booming, lively, and packed with life it feels. Akian bursts into the western city, and everything changes the second he lands. He bolts to the guild and registers as a copper-rank adventurer. There, someone pulls him aside and warns him, winter is creeping in, and dungeons get packed out, because when outdoor work dries up, more adventurers flood straight into the labyrinths. When winter hits, they push Akian to grab a place to stay before every bed gets snapped up. The guild clerk reels him in with a killer special offer, and he snatches the contract with zero hesitation. Satisfied, he leans back and marvels at the guild's people and the sheer sales genius they've got. Akion hurries up to the dungeon entrance and steps right to the guild desk to register. He gets hit with the guild's safety briefing, and they make it crystal clear he has to always show his guild card. Come back in a month or they'll call you dead, and anything the missing adventurers left behind gets snapped up as guild property. After he signs the terms, he's locked in and ready to enter. Akian finally slams into the dungeon entrance, swipes his guild card, gets the rules and instructions, then nods and signs on, fully knowing just how dangerous this is. With his heart slamming in his chest, he reaches for the portal. This is the instant he's been chasing. The very first step toward the dream he'd abandoned and still couldn't forget. Inside the dungeon, Akon feels the pressure hammering his gut. This place is a real labyrinth, and every corner carries echoes of fights that aren't over yet. Even with nerves hammering his chest, he strides ahead anyway, driven by pure determination. He can't stop anymore. Akon spots 5 goblins, and they're still totally oblivious, no clue he's there. His heart pounds, he tightens his spear until it bites his grip, and pure grit floods his chest. I've got this. Akian stared at the slain goblins, stunned by how brutally easy the fight had been, way easier than he'd ever imagined. Suddenly their bodies crumble to dust, and all that's left behind are glowing magic stones. He's shocked when he snatches one up, and the second it hits his palm, it somehow becomes a real magic stone. Then his wide-eyed curiosity clicks into place, because a whole new mystery is already unfolding right in front of him. Cheon stared at the magic stones he'd just ripped from defeated goblins, replaying everything as he thought about it, because down in the dungeon, monster bodies don't just disappear. They transform into those stones you can trade for cash, and on top of that, you can also loot treasures, magic weapons, armor, and rare materials. Staring into the possibilities, he can't help thinking, how far can I really push myself? But just as fast he snaps back to his mission. No, my goal is a safe, fun adventure. Determined, he lands on that answer. I have to stay careful and not go too far. Akon spots a portal, a return gate sitting on every dungeon floor like a game's perfect save point, and the moment he lays eyes on it, he knows exactly how it can save his run. If he hightails back right now, he can pick up his exploration from this exact spot the next time, so he decides to hold back and not overdo it on day one. So I headed back home, nothing left to do. I decided to take it easy today and call it quits. Kian burst back from the dungeon, sold the magic stones he'd hauled out for 3,000 liters, and thought he'd cracked the code, until he clocked the truth. 5 rounds of goblins barely paid him. So he grabs his resolve, and decides the only way to make real money is to dive into the deeper floors. But he also realizes one brutal truth. If the monster count keeps climbing, he won't be able to hold out by himself anymore. As Akian's mind races, he suddenly catches the clash of voices between other adventurers and pauses. Wait, is there a fight brewing? He snaps into action, tries to brush it off, and slips onto a different route, begging himself not to get dragged into it. Then he gets cornered by a stranger who begs for help against a nasty group, right as he realizes this might be the kind of trouble you can't just dodge. Akian spots a commotion among a bunch of adventurers, and they're definitely trying to stay out of it. He tries to slip away, but out of nowhere, someone barrels into him and hauls him straight into the fight. When he spots the others who were involved and realizes that irritated crowd starts cornering him, demanding he finally take responsibility for what just happened. When Akon gets confronted, he stays stone calm and he clamps onto the man's arm, glares hard, and warns him to dodge a showdown. Even with that calm look, the pressure in his hand screams he's ready to move the second it's needed, so the other guy feels the force and hesitates. Akon dodges the confrontation, slips out of the chaos, and the mage girl yanks him away, so relieved she doesn't push the issue. He barrels back into the city, grabs a quick light dinner at the restaurant, then, wrecked, throws himself into bed early, ready to tackle whatever tomorrow brings. The very next day, as he strolled along, totally calm, Akon gets stopped by the girls from that wild past commotion, and they rush up to thank him for his help. Then one of them blurts out that she's been watching him ever since, shocked by his strength, a bit thrown off, and not totally at ease, while he scrambles to figure out what they're really after. The girls step forward and introduce themselves as a killer duo, one mage, one priestess, straight up promising big things. They straight up invited Akon, said they want to team up and form a party with him. 2 girls roll up to the young man and push right into his space, begging him to spend the day with them, one practically glowing with excitement, the other quietly waiting like something big is about to happen. He's visibly flustered, and he can't figure out how to say no. But he swallows his pride and agrees just to spare them from getting hurt. Still, deep down, he can't shake this nagging feeling that something's off, weird, and honestly a bit uncomfortable, yet he's already locked in to meet them later. Misha flashes a confident smile and tells everyone she's a noble-born mage who stepped into the world to hunt down real experience. At her side, Sis slips a secret. She grew up in a temple and now works as a priestess. They break it down like this. One kind of magic is built for offense, the other is all about support, because they trained in different magical traditions, even though they've been friends from the same city forever. The girls try to fill the awkward silence while the party gets set up, and one blurts, "That guy won't stop talking," while the other just keeps quiet, watching everything like it's a show. He introduces himself as an adventurer, once a porter, now gambling on his future in the capital, ready to take bigger risks than ever. Still, he barely seems to care. He trudges toward the dungeon like he's just going through the motions. The 2 girls start getting ready to go, but then they realize he's not ready at all. He pleads for a second, then dashes back to the far end to swap out his gear. After a bit, he bursts back in a hurry, apologizing nonstop for the delay, while they're stuck outside, tapping their feet, desperate to finally get this show on the road. He storms back with fresh gear, flashing his mace and shield like trophies, and the girls lean in, all curious, as he grins and explains he stashed the rest safely away. With everything locked in, the whole party finally blasts out together for the dungeon, all braced and confident, ready to smash whatever hits them next. In the dungeon, that guy charges in solo, smashing through the enemies before the girls even get a chance to move. They get furious about being left out, then snap that he's refusing to work with the team. As soon as he realizes his blunder, he rushes to apologize, and the whole group finally gets it. Sure, that start looked amazing, but from here on out, they're going to need way better teamwork. As they dive deeper, the enemies swarm in bigger waves, more monsters, more danger, until a full-on horde closes in. The mage blasts the battlefield with scorching fire, while the priestess shields everyone with powerful magic protection. As a team, they lock in and flex their power, covering each other's backs the second the battle rips into the next floor. In the middle of a brutal showdown, he nearly gets wiped out by a surprise strike. But he twists at the very last second and slips the attack. The impact smashes into the ground, splitting it wide open and showing just how terrifyingly deadly everything has become. He lets out a shaky breath of relief. He barely made it, yet the danger still hasn't backed off. Right after the battle, it hits him. He's leveled up hard, so much that his skills now crush even veteran adventurers, and even though he's shocked, he's also blazing with confidence because his choices are finally paying off. With the party regrouped, they pushed even deeper, hearts pounding, sure the sacrifice was finally starting to pay off. They charged up to the stairs that dropped straight down to the 6th floor. He tells everyone to hit pause, catch their breath, and recover before they charge back in. But the girls freeze up, like they're seconds from spilling a huge truth, and it screams that things are way messier than he thinks. At last they snap, admitting the dungeon broke them. Terrified, drained, they beg to go home, and one blurts that they're done for, while the other instantly nods along. Yeah, eh. He's terrified of another monster, and when they suddenly make that choice, he can barely process it, because deep down, even with all that progress, this journey was just too brutal for them. When they bolt out of the dungeon, they cash in their magic stones and walk away with a mountain of money. Every girl gets a huge chunk, grinning ear to ear, as the run's results hit and everything pays off. But the guy figures it out fast, go deeper, and the rewards keep getting bigger, because the dungeon's progression climbs on a steady, unstoppable growth curve. As they split up, the girls lock in their next get-together for a week later, 7 days from now. The leader hustled out with their earnings in hand, and you could practically see the satisfaction on their faces, like the adventure left them calm, safe, and completely at ease. The second he hears it, he freezes. Like, how is that invitation so chill? He can't even tell if he really understood what just happened. When he demands to know why they're only turning back in 7 days. They lay it all out. They're using that money to grab magical gear and train the right way, because to them the whole gap is the lesson, so when the logic hits, it leaves him totally baffled. As the girls stress that magic doesn't happen overnight, growth and prep take time and real effort, they lay out one crucial truth. Learning magic comes in 2 different ways. You could learn it straight from a mage, or buy lessons from a guild trainer, and either way, those magical circles burn the knowledge right into your mind. Still, they hammer it home. Learning isn't the same as mastering. Using magic in a fight isn't something you wing. You need training, sharp precision, and non-stop practice, or it won't hit the way it's supposed to. They say mastering magic takes days of prayer, non-stop study, and real practice, so they can't jump into the next expedition yet. That's how he finally gets it, why mages and warriors rip into each other in the capital, because their growth speeds don't even play on the same clock. Even after it clicks, he realizes the cruel twist. Since he can't use magic, he's stuck waiting. They keep leveling up, slamming him into a worse spot, and he scrambles to bargain for a smaller gap. But the girls shoot back that they have to take that time to pray and get ready, and nobody can rush it, and he finally gives in and accepts. But inside, frustration erupts as he realizes he's got to match their pace, even when the waiting feels like it's going to kill him. So he steps in and pitches a deal. They'll head back to the dungeon together whenever their schedules line up, but he won't be stuck on the same timetable. If he has to, he'll go solo. The girls nod in agreement, and the group locks in a looser plan to work together, wrapping up the day on the same page, with mutual understanding, right before they split up. After everything, he stumbles back to his room, utterly drained, carrying the crushing physical and emotional weight of the whole day. He tells himself he had to take the deal, no choice at all, but the frustration still clings to him, while the girls look totally unbothered by the decision. He can't stop replaying it in his head. He realizes he caved in more than he ever meant to, even while he's still clinging to the dream of staying independent. To shake off the stress, he splurges a chunk of his money on sweets, chasing a sugar rush to drag his mood back up. Then he runs his daily evaluation like always, and when the results roll in, he realizes fate isn't getting any kinder, no matter how much he prayed for a better break. Seeing other adventurers strut around with total confidence, he realizes his luck isn't hiding in the numbers at all. It's hiding in the wild, unexpected people he ran into along the way. All alone, he snaps out of it, stops replaying the past, and locks in on his own goals, because deep down, he always planned to move forward, so he chooses action over waiting. And with that, he snatches his brand new weapon, bolts out to test it right away, determined to hit the dungeon again without needing a single soul. He slides on his brand new iron armor and clamps down hard on his fresh weapon, like he's daring the next danger to show up. Refusing to lean on anyone, he storms off into the dungeon alone, ready to grind through as far as he can, forcing his strength and his will to prove themselves. On the 6th floor, where everything starts to get dangerous, the adventurer rockets straight through a swarm of monsters, weapon and armor humming as he smashes through enemy after enemy with zero hesitation. He mows down several in one go, fueled by pure need to prove himself, then the dust finally settles. Creature remains carpet the ground, proof that even alone, he smashed through that first terrifying hurdle. By day 3 alone, he's finally nailed the new gear, moving smoother, swinging with growing confidence, and turning every hit into an opening, because the armor stops the strikes and projectiles while his skills pick up the slack from the tougher mobility. Confidence surges in him as he realizes he can take on anything, no fear of ranged attacks, no panic over bites, proving that going solo is already paying off. Back in his room, he fires up the game and uses it like a control panel to manage everything. Ration everything he has on his own schedule, and don't worry about what anyone else is doing. He cracks open the magic stones, sorts his gear like a pro, and even slows down to eat, because with no companions in sight, he feels way safer, and he can pour all his focus into surviving and pushing forward. After he's done eating and gearing up, he finally feels locked in, ready to dive back into the dungeon, because he's got the skill, the plan, and the nerve to push forward step by step. With pure resolve, he strides out of the room, throws the doors open, and steels himself to take on yet another day of brutal challenges, alone. Right in front of the boss's hall door, he finally realizes how deadly it is to push forward by himself. For a split second, doubt screams in his head, and he thinks about quitting and heading home. Then, even so, he steps forward, thinking the pain of danger is easier than the regret of never trying. The moment he steps into the hall, a wall of monsters surges forward like a full-on army, surrounding him so tight you can feel it. This is a boss fight, no question. He realizes this isn't one enemy and done. It's a chaotic brawl against multiple threats at the same time, and even though he's shaken. He scans the scene and realizes he can't survive the ambush with brute force. He needs strategy, and he needs caution, fast, and then he steps up to face the horde. He starts thinking about a special skill meant only for humans, not even sure it'll work on monsters, and then he goes for it anyway, betting everything. He snaps the technique on, gambling that this power will finally tip the scales in a desperate moment. The skill crashes into them like a nightmare, fills the enemies with unnatural terror, and shatters the whole horde into panic. When the effect finally dies down, the adventurer rips off his helmet, breathing hard with pure relief. He actually made it through the chaos, face smeared with smoke and grime. He grumbles that the armor feels miserable, then it hits him. Right there, in that discomfort, the battle finally tips his way. Even after the skill fades, a goblin still lunges at him to set up an ambush. The adventurer snaps into action the moment it happens, dodging with ice-cold composure, using every twist of the terrain to his advantage. Then boom, the creature gets repelled and crashes down, and it's clear now, he's not just betting on tricks anymore. Now he's finally got the reflexes and control to slam back at sudden danger. Then this adventurer snaps awake to an even darker power, and it crushes the enemies with an oppressive pressure as he transforms into a terrifying blood-based form. He snaps into an even more aggressive, dominating mode, and with that brutal transformation, the monsters start freaking out as he unleashes his new strength, takes control of the battlefield, and flips the fight completely in his favor. Shrouded by that vampiric form, the adventurer stares down the clash with icy, predatory focus. Like life itself is just a tool he can twist to survive and go past his breaking point, and he forces himself to stop acting like mere prey and start acting like the one who conquers the battlefield, crushing everything with his will. That terrifying presence snaps away just as fast as it showed up, and he's left standing there, utterly baffled. It's like someone shoved a magical warning into his hands, and he's still reeling, not even sure what just hit him. He freezes in the middle of the hall, staring at the wreckage of the fight, trying to make sense of that wild, unexpected rescue. Then he checks his status, and boom, he's unlocked a bunch of new skills, and some of them come from a seriously disturbing source. He's stunned because these powers don't even look like they belong to humans. Still, he decides to seal one of those fresh skills for now, because he knows he's nowhere near ready to control something that dangerous. After mowing down the last enemies, he grabs every magic stone from the battlefield, and then boom, he spots a rare item hiding in the loot and appraises it. Then it clicks, he's found a magic bag that can swallow an insane amount of stuff, and pure excitement hits him like lightning as his luck suddenly turns his way. He realizes he can haul way more supplies and guard his secrets without anyone even noticing, and that means every dungeon run from here on out is gonna be smoother. Back in the city, he straps in the new magic bag, then immediately fires off a freshly learned spell, launching a blazing fire projectile to drill the move. He realizes his aim still needs work, and he remembers, magic isn't just a spell, it's the body learning to adapt, so he hammers out practice, and then he clocks it. He's got a few days left before he meets the girls again, plenty of time to get fully dialed in on his new powers before their next run. He decides to dive back into his routine, and even though he loves working solo, he can't deny the thrill of tackling things as a team. He shows up at the guild early, ready to trade magic stones. And the moment he spots those girls nearby, one of them blurts his name with pure excitement. The girls roll in with a brand new adventurer, then turn to the protagonist and demand they let their party end with him. They tell him, "We teamed up with the guy sitting right next to us," and the protagonist's eyes go wide because he finally realizes what's happening, shocked by how fast everything flips. They're itching to bail on his party because they think they found a partner who looks stronger and way safer. He gets the logic, squeezes out a smile, and just accepts it. No fight, no sparks. The two girls march into the dungeon with their brand new partner, and they shoot a quick goodbye before the doors close behind them. The protagonist stands alone in stunned silence, just quietly waving like it's the only thing he can do. A stranger steps in, trying to soothe him, begging him to cheer up, then he snaps back, "I'm fine." He checks himself and realizes, yeah, he's not nearly as shaken as he thought, and honestly, he feels relieved, like one big worry just vanished. A loudmouth adventurer starts spilling his own party drama, right there for everyone to hear. While the protagonist calmly packs everything into his magic bag, all he can do is regret one thing: the breakup blew up in public. At the guild, he demanded to trade magic stones for cash. Then the receptionist spotted his magic bag and slid out a bigger tray like it was about to get serious. When he slams an absurd pile of stones onto it, she goes pale at once and starts sweating hard. She swears she'll handle it in a minute, but he's already side-eyeing her like she's been dodging this for ages. Then he blurts out, "Is something wrong?" When the final tally hits, he slams his guild's total on the table, 600,000 liters of stones. The receptionist tells him to trade up more often, then congratulates him and says the size of his stash is proof of his hard work. He nods back, still reeling at just how much he pulled together all by himself. Another adventurer cheers him on. He shot back that the girls never saw his true worth and that he should have demanded credit for ditching them first. He answers with a respectful smile, and for a second the weight on his chest eases. Still, the truth hits him hard. Deep down, he's always been the one left behind. After that delicious dinner, he locks in his inventory order and makes a firm call. The next day, he's not going back to the dungeon. He decides to binge play all night until sleep finally drags him under, and the next day, he's wiped out from staying up way too late. He marches to the cafeteria with nothing but pure instinct and zero real plan. He grabs bread and a steaming bowl of soup to calm his stomach and get back on his feet. While he's chowing down, someone yanks his focus to something wild happening right beside him, even after that skill is done. A wild commotion erupts because two legendary adventure crews have just rolled in Steelfeather and Flameblade, and the second they arrive, every eye locks on them, tension snapping tight about what's about to happen. He doesn't know either crew, but he still catches whispers of adventurers, betting on who'll smash through to the 30th floor first, while everyone roars for the young Ilaria from Feathers of Steel. Seeing all those gifted rookies, and that noble-looking blonde swordswoman in particular, he shrugs it off like it's none of his business and slips back to his meal in total peace. With no clue what today's got in store, he scribbles a list, digs up intel on trends, and gets ready to smash the next dungeon push. And grab fresh spells, because once he looks at everything stacked in front of him, he realizes he's got a ton to handle before he can finally head out. At the guild, he lines in and demands answers about Trents. And he realizes there on the 30th floor, where going in alone is a death wish. The receptionist tells him to chase the famous parties and head for that floor, then drops the bomb that the local record is creeping up to number 40, the Mark Hyro's sword set, so he thanks her on the spot and says he'll think over his options. Still nothing's decided, so he throws himself into magic training and heads for a specialist shop, thinking he's already halfway to the 30th floor, right up to the 15th. The clerk beams at him, warmly welcoming him in, and confirms this is his very first visit to the magic shop. The clerk fires off the rules, how purchases work, and how the catalog gets split up by rank. He scans the list and locks in 7 practical spells: light, anti-magic seals, slash and impact boosts, healing and detox, then flashes back to the RPGs he used to binge, adds it all up to 300,000 liters, and swallows hard like, all right, time to bet on his own survival. He forks over the money for the spells and grumbles that magic is wildly overpriced. With a chilling, sinister grin, the attendant tells him she'll carve the magic circles straight into his mind, and warns him he can scream if it hurts. A split second later, a scream tears through the air outside while he's still scrambling to make sense of what's about to hit him. Outside the shop, he stumbles out and rubs his head, then admits it hurt way more than he ever thought it would. To test it, he snaps a light spell. Tiny flames hover over his fingertip, and once he sees it work, he grins, saying he doesn't even need candles anymore. That night, he shuts everyone out, plays solo, and can't stop thinking about how wildly his life has changed since he fell in love with being an adventurer. He clings to every face he ever met and every soul he left behind in the city, but the truth hits hard. He's still alone, and the power is finally in his own hands. Somewhere deep inside, he can't stop wanting one day to get to play side by side with someone. He can't stop thinking about it. Yeah, those professional parties still recruit just to take on the 30th floor, which makes his stomach twist as he wonders what kind of danger really waits up there and whether he can go in alone. At the guild, he spots the recruitment board jam-packed with notices, and he clocks 2 girls hovering there like they're ready to apply too. He admits he'd love some company, but after everything that went down, he clamps down and stays on guard. Watching the trio lock in on recruitment, he decides not to sign up, stays solo, and relishes that sweet freedom. Back to the inn, train up, then get ready for whatever tomorrow throws at him. He storms back into the dungeon, resolve blazing in his chest. Wielding the power of the Twilight Wanderer, he reshapes his body on the spot and snaps into full armor so fast that nobody even thinks to look his way outside. From that moment on, he can switch gears like it's nothing inside the labyrinth. He barrels through the dungeon, unleashing the brand new arts he just mastered. He fires up blazing light to see everything, throws up a shield to stop every hit, then turns that momentum into stronger attacks. He barrels deeper into the maze, smashing through everything in his way. In the labyrinth, he ends the battle with a blinding light blast. Right before the enemy slips away, he slams on skill theft, then checks his status and realizes he just grabbed even more light projectiles. Satisfied, he charges forward stronger, with moves that hit harder and fit any situation. He tailors blood armament to his own way, refusing to bite, then keeps cooking up new strategies while he hunts for the stairs that lead to the next level. Suddenly, a scream from far away tears through the quiet and yanks his focus. When he hears that sharp, unfamiliar cry, he knows this is a whole new kind of monster. Thrilled but razor alert, he clamps his sword in his grip and charges straight toward that sound. He stumbles on a battered swordswoman, locked in a deadly standoff with a skeletal apparition, scythe in hand, an enemy that shouldn't exist for this floor. Breathing hard and terrified, she can't stop asking, why the hell would something like that show up down there? He spots the threat, an Executioner Reaper, the kind of monster that only shows up when dungeon rules get broken, like lingering on a floor too long or cracking the structure, and when it comes, its mist turns deadly poisonous. When he spots the woman with the sword in real danger, panic detonates in his chest, and he rushes in to stop it. He lunges in front of her and slams his gauntleted fist across the Reaper's blade, stopping death inches short and saving her by a hair. Hearing the poisonous gas hiss, he realizes the sheer ridiculous punch power behind the blow as the girl's stun starts to kick in confused and demanding to know who just saved her. Then it hits him she's Ilya from the Steel Wing Party. Swaying, half dead and poisoned, she crashes into his arms. Panic hits, then the Iron Knight scoops her up and clutches her in a bridal carry, looking mortified, stammering and thinking, what do I do now? Then he spirals. I saved her on pure instinct, so what's going on now? Where the hell is the rest of Steelwing? If she couldn't pull it off, what chance do I have? He even starts thinking about retreating, because in the end, he's all about adventuring safely. The punitive Reaper lunges ahead, blasting out a spine-chilling shriek, and when it locks onto Ilya lying on the ground, it wastes zero time, it charges straight in. Akon triggers Night Demon Daywalker, and in an instant, his vampiric persona takes full control. And he figures he can hand the rest off to this guy, until, right in the middle of all that excitement, a nasty worry suddenly slams into him. Hold on, my mind isn't gonna fully lock into tuna bio mode right, 2-2 pros. With a blood-chilling howl, the solemn reaper rockets forward, its toxic mist cutting through the air like a blade. Akin sucked in a deep breath, flashed a half-smile and said, "All right, I've got this, I'll take the lead." Akin squares up and fires off the simplest plan, whatever works, that's what he does. He slams on slash enhancement and tears in with a storm of strikes, only for the blade to slice straight through the creature's misty body like it's not even there. His eyes go wide, physical attacks bounce off like nothing, because that spectral form laughs at fists, so he taps into full gamer logic. Specters are straight up immune to physical damage. So how do you fix it? Magic it. He slathers himself and his sword with raw power, then snaps up an anti-magic barrier like a shield around his soul. He tears through the cursed mist and carves out the perfect opening. Now that cut is finally about to hit. Akian snaps his flash step into action to blast out of the mist, only to realize it's poison, and he grits his teeth, deciding to finish it with one brutal hit. He ignites the Reaper with light and slams on buffs like a speedrunner: object barrier, anti-magic barrier, slash enhancement, strike enhancement, and surprise attack enhancement. Then he's fully loaded for the one-shot. With every buff blasting at full power, Acheon lunges for the finish. His radiant blade carves through the poisonous haze and slices straight into the Reaper. He stumbles back, double-checks everything, then breaks into a relieved grin. "Yeah, I did it." Black smoke bursts apart and rides the wind, like victory cleaned the slate in one glorious hit. Still locked in full armor, Akon hauls the steel-winged swordswoman on his back and backs away from the floor. No free hands, no time to fight back, so he just bolts forward, defending with everything he's got. Outside the labyrinth, he rockets her straight to the guild clinic. Rescue mission finished. The hero stumbled back to the inn, flung himself onto the bed, and collapsed, completely wiped out. After hiding in his room for 3 whole days, he finally bursts into the cafeteria, takes a seat, and throws out a heartfelt thanks for the meal. From the talk swirling around him, he catches the truth. Ilya of Steel Wing nearly got wiped out on a mission, but she's already bounced back, safe and sound. The relief hits hard. Even though he loves being alone, knowing people are out there still steadies him. He hears Ilya's on a mission, hunting for her savior, that adventurer in full plate armor who took down the Grim Reaper Punisher all by himself. The moment he hears the heroes getting called Fortress, his world shifts. He freezes on the spot, convinced it's him, and then he just stands there, totally stunned by that nickname. Ilya slips into the cafeteria, eyes blazing as he scans for that mysterious fortress, while adventurers trade whispers that whoever can take down the Punisher becomes a legendary ally on the spot. She strides up to the guy at the table and bluntly asks if he knows Fortress. Then he immediately clocks how relentless she is about tracking him down. Just as he tries to slip out, she cuts him off mid-step and demands to know if he's heard of an adventurer in full armor, big, imposing, and impossible to miss. Nervous as hell, he starts thinking she's calling him out perfectly, so he pretends to be clueless, and the second he does, he realizes she has no idea who he is. Later that night, back home, he crumples to the ground in sheer relief. She's alive, then flashes back to how he tried to heal her during the rescue, not even knowing if it really did anything. He grabs the Fortress nickname and decides it's his own brand of pure, epic legend. He debates tossing the armor to stay hidden, but he can't bring himself to let go of how it looks, so he keeps it on. Because nobody caught a glimpse of his face, he lets out a breath, then dives right back in, building his next gear set like it's all that matters. He finishes a fresh loadout, trades iron for steel, straps on a giant shield, and then he dubs the whole thing his full-on defensive setup. And realizes the Fortress aura just cranked up to a whole new level. On the 17th floor of the dungeon, he finally runs into enemies that hit harder, move smarter, and come in every shape and form. With the new shield in hand, he slams back every charge and projectile, then drives forward without slowing. He snaps everything onto the shield, fires back with a brutal counter, and wins. Then the enemy starts throwing even weirder attacks at him. He realizes the pool of skills he can steal keeps growing too, and that thought sparks pure excitement for what he'll grab next. He spots a ruthless pattern, like the skills are getting stolen right out from under him. Snatching the exact same skill from the same kind of monster won't boost its level, but grab that power from different species, and it'll start evolving on you. That's when he grits his teeth and vows to wipe out as many monster types as he can, mad that the real variety only kicks in after the 20th floor, so he pushes forward, fired up by the progress. He barges into the 20th floor and squares off against the Orc General, a monster who won't stop summoning minions the whole fight. It's a brutal battle, but he doesn't just overpower the threat. he slashes the summoner himself, cutting off the whole source of the problem and sealing the win. After he wipes out the 20th floor boss, the general hands him the bow as a brutal reward. He stretched his attack range as the drop hit, and that was exactly what he needed. He locks onto the summoner with that strategy, and right then, he decides it's break time. On his break, he hustles up lunch, slurping soup, then stacking a BLT sandwich like it's mission time. Then he lights up and devours his dessert in pure joy, a decapon, that bright Japanese citrus fruit. He decides to grow a fruit tied to inherited memories, one that once got an old man killed, only to find it's overflowing with vitamins. He uses top-shelf fertilizer, and the results hit him like a thunderclap. It hits like pure magic, better than he ever remembered, and somehow even stronger. Akon checks his status and realizes he's even stronger now. Even with everything, his luck stays brutal, and then he realizes something wild. The sealed skills aren't frozen at all, they keep evolving as time passes. With no time to waste, he taps his brand new power and triggers the stolen boss skill, *** summon minions ***. He tests his summoning power and snaps forth a crescent wolf, an icy spectral beast with pale blue fur and fangs sharp enough to cut through anything. He's completely blown away. He can't stop staring at how majestic it looks, how cool it is, and yeah, it's kind of adorable too. Akin gently strokes the crescent wolf, and suddenly he's yanked back to his childhood dream, living in a real house with a dog by his side. Fueled by pure fire, he vows to bust his ass, working hard until he can finally afford a home and all the furniture. He hatches a plan to rake in even more by pushing the alcohol production quest, and the moment he gets the chance, he's fired up and ready to give it everything he's got. Up on the 21st floor, Akon finally drops into an underground slice of reality, one endless, unbroken forest that runs straight to the 30th floor, and somehow, even down here, a blue sky glows overhead. Then he starts pushing through the trees, hunting for his next target, the treant. He keeps tearing through the forest floor for answers, but steam starts pouring from his frustration when most monsters are just plant or insect types he can't steal skills from. Exhausted, he longs for a place to crash, a real house, but he slams the thought down fast, because no way something that cozy could exist inside a dungeon. To his shock, there's a rental cabin sitting right in the dungeon, and if he drops a magic stone in, he can rest safely for 6 hours, suspicious as hell, but hope sparks anyway. He hits the switch and throws a full-on celebration, calling it an insanely useful rest point. Then Akian steps in, and instant cozy shock hits her like a wave. A soft bed to crash on, a table set just right, and a warm kettle hissing like it's ready for the next moment. He flops onto the pillow with a huge, glowing smile. Stunned by how comfy it feels, I can't believe he's still trapped inside a dungeon. But while he's out cold, sleeping peacefully, Akon snaps awake, tangled in tentacles, and panics hard. He finally realizes he may have walked straight into a dungeon trap, and regret hits him hard for trusting something way too convenient, so easy, so desperate. Now he's panicking, trying to figure out how he's even supposed to escape. After 6 brutal hours, the cabin's time limit slams shut, and Achian gets thrown out completely unhurt, even though he's still reeling from how violently sudden it all was. He snaps his focus back in place and pushes deeper into the underground forest, still pressing on as he explores. He stumbles on a mysterious portal and suddenly realizes floors 21 to 30 aren't separate at all. Multiple passages are scattered all over the region, linking them together. As Achian trudges deeper into that endless forest, boredom starts to creep into his bones. He hunts for the next portal, tells himself he might turn back, then he spots something weird and his whole focus snaps to it. Intrigued, he suddenly realizes he may have just stumbled onto a whole new kind of enemy. Trudging deeper and deeper through a forest that never, ever ends, Achian gets blindsided by a tree that shoots up like a monster, daring him with every inch of its threat. Claw-like branches jut out, a savage grin on its face, and he freezes in shock. Then his mind screams, "Wait, is that a treant?" Akon barely gets his guard up in time, blocks the tree's strike, and freezes, shocked at just how insanely nimble something that massive can be. He thinks at lightning speed, and since he's basically made of wood, everyone knows fire is his fatal weakness. He doesn't waste a second. He fires a fire arrow, lining up the shot with deadly precision. At first, he thinks the fire arrow is finally hitting right. Then he sees the flames barely scratch the surface, and his hope crumbles fast. Then it hits him back in the earlier appraisal. They said the creature was packed with high moisture, and that's exactly why it fought off every attack. He flips his game plan and hits slash enhancement. Now he's ready to slice his way through the fight instead of leaning on magic. Akon starts to lose his cool when neither the fire nor the slashes leave a dent, and the treant just keeps regenerating at a terrifying pace. Still clueless how to crack it, he stumbles back and panics through frantic thoughts, like, if fire and blades don't work. Tell me, how do I kill this thing? He blurts, then snaps his gaze to the exact spot where he'd blocked the Trion's blow. Then he spots it. The wood is smashed flat, not sliced and not burned. That's the moment it hits. Their enemy can't take impact damage. Right away, he fires off Flash Step and switches on Strike Enhancement, gearing up to slam in a no-mistake brute force finisher. Kian unleashes a perfectly timed blow, supercharged by Strike Enhancement, and drives the treant crashing down, shocking everyone by proving impact attacks are its true weakness. He's celebrating that win like he just conquered the world. But the violent recoil whips pain through his hands, leaving them aching. Still, after the dust settled, he came out on top. Kian scoops up the special material it drops, treant wood, and with his heart racing, he shoves it into the game system and registers it as a quest item. Now on the 1 out of 10 run for the Sake Brewing quest, he heads out to hunt down the other 9 who are determined to crush the objective. Still riding the high from his first tree and wood haul, Acheon swears he'll finish the quest in a flash. But after that, the moment he keeps searching the forest, not a single treant shows up again, no matter how long he hunts. Fuming, he snaps at the dreaded desire sensor, the cruel old game curse where the more you crave an item, the more it slips away, because after so long with no new treant, he's got 0 options left. Acheon calls it. He's locking himself in the dungeon's safe cabin for a breather, and he promises, eyes set, he won't stay past 6 hours before he bolts. Exhausted and fed up, he decides to race back to the last portal. After all that grind, he's got nothing to show for it. A colossal turtle dragon monster crashes into the forest, dragon neck, massive shell, even a whole tiny forest sprouting from it with birds roosting on top. Then the sheer weight of that presence slams into him, and he realizes, in horror, he's stumbled into an enemy on a totally different level. The protagonist slams into the sight of a giant turtle monster, its back piled with a little garden, birds perched like it's a kingdom, then freezes as he realizes it's the Woods Eater, the area's guardian, armored like stone and healing faster than anything should be able to. He stares up at the colossal threat, stunned by how huge it is, fully realizing he's wildly outmatched. He whips around and bolts at once, stunned by how fast this area's danger just shot through the roof, lost in the underground forest. He charges straight into a ghost knight, an undead full-plate warrior with a massive greatsword that reeks of unnatural power. Then the spectral brute slams into his path and shuts him down like, this fight won't be easy. While his summoned minions slam into action and keep the ghost knight pinned down. He drags his blade through magic, then charges in to end it for good. He lunges to block too late, taking a shallow slash across his hand, and the sting rockets up his arm like electricity. He snaps to the truth. Yeah, that last hit punched through his armor, but then his own abilities kick in, and his wounds seal up like they never happened. When he spots the enemy's ghostly poison greatsword, it all clicks. This blade slips past your defenses and drives a wave of brutal pain straight through you. With his loyal wolf beside him, he spots the portal and slips out of the dungeon safe and sound. After he sells an insane pile of magic stones, the guildmaster summons him and demands he explain exactly what he's been doing. The leader snaps, demanding to know who ordered him to haul in so many stones, and he swears, straight to his face, that he did it all on his own. But the guildmaster narrows his eyes, calls him out for lying, and basically screams that the whole thing reeks of trouble. The records say he spent years stuck in iron rank doing grunt-gathering jobs, then boom, he shot up to bronze and sprinted straight into the dungeon. He gets why it looks terrible, and regret hits hard because he sold way too many stones all at once. But he stands his ground, refusing to let a false accusation stick. He finally admits he used to be weak, then, almost like a switch flipped, he spotted his real strengths and honed them into something sharper. He swears he won every single one of those magic stones by himself. No one helped him at all, and no matter how they push, they keep getting nowhere. The guildmaster barks an order to summon Thunderlight, the party that cleared the 10th floor, and demands they also check the magic stones before anything else. The young man lines in and demands, "So, who are you?" Just a heartbeat later, the party barges into the room. Thunderlight strides in, and one of the girls blurts out, "Uncle," to the guildmaster. The young man squints, then realizes it's Thunderlight. The guildmaster calls out that the man and one of the members used to run with the same team, then turns and declares his gut suspicion. Those stones were snatched illegally. The guildmaster leans in and tells Thunderlight to vouch for him, then the whole group snaps back, "We don't know him." Thunderlight gets fired up anyway. He thinks he'll finally be cleared, until the girls reveal his wins only happened because of their magic, and rage erupts as he protests. The guildmaster just sighs, then decides to settle it another way. The guildmaster wants to size him up for real, so he sets up a sparring showdown against Thunderlight, with a prize going to whoever wins. The trio nods on the spot, and the mage even pushes him to confess right away, before something terrible happens to him. Right as the spar is about to kick off, he barrels in and with one sharp, perfectly timed move, slams the trio's weapons clean out of their hands. The swordsman's arm goes numb, and Thunderlight freezes, staring in total disbelief. In the blink of an eye, they clocked the huge power gap, and the swordsmen couldn't even wrap their heads around what just happened. The protagonist claims he just knocked the weapon aside with a single strike, and then he's stunned they even made it past the 10th floor if they can't even see how fast he moves. Thunderlight finally snaps into full focus, and the fighter turns to the priestess like, "Give me every single buff you've got." The mage braces to strike, and the priestess fires off both brutal offense buffs and ironclad defenses to shield the whole team. The mage blasts flame magic, and the swordsman barrels forward with a storm of lightning-fast slashes. Thunderlight launches a ruthless, perfectly timed counterattack. Infuriated that they kept treating him like a joke, he snaps and decides he won't just dodge it anymore. He slams up an anti-magic barrier, and then throws up an object barrier too. They slam their joint attack into a wall, then he snaps off light and sets up a ruthless counter. He drinks in that combo's power, rockets ahead with a brutal shield bash, and drops all 3 Thunderlight members straight to the floor. With his guard up from afar, he stays cool, and asks straight up if they're still ready to push on. So Thunderlight slumps there, shell-shocked and getting crushed, out cold and reeling. Sensing the sheer power gap, the guildmaster nods and accepts the outcome. Achaean's victory is sealed, and all those lingering doubts finally get crushed for good. The guildmaster drops into a deep bow, apologizing with every ounce of sincerity. Achaean says he's finally relieved the misunderstanding is cleared up, then admits he clung to iron rank for way too long. But he says he doesn't mind anymore, and then, like a breath of fresh air, he admits he feels refreshed as the guildmaster leans in and addresses him with real affection. The guildmaster shoves a receipt into his hands. Right there, the rewards total is already loaded with the full value of the magic stones. Achaean double-checks it, and he freezes them, 10 million strong, double the reward for the ban. He blurts out, "Are you sure it's really okay for me to take all this?" The guildmaster leans in, says it's not just a gift, it's an apology, and urges him to accept it. Achaean nods, then Ilya suddenly bursts into the room like a storm hitting at full speed. Charging in fast, like he couldn't wait 1 second longer. Ilya chokes up with tears and blurts out that she finally figured it out. Then she tells him, "Your fortress, the one who saved me." He's stunned, then scrambles to cover it up, saying she must have mistaken him for somebody else. Ilya tells them how she tracked him. She heard a fully armored adventurer was staying at the guild. Then she spotted his light magic flashing during the sparring match. She spotted that same glow like it was stamped into her memory, the moment she was saved, and before she could lie to herself, he asks what she needs, and she fires back, "Come with me," and he doesn't hesitate. Jin, the Steel Wing leader, runs into Achaean. He grabs the gratitude in his voice, thanks him for saving his teammate, and drops into a deep, respectful bow. Achaean is stunned by the massive respect, so he tries to play it cool, but Jin refuses to back down and demands he accept a reward. Then Jin drops the real reason he came. He shoots his hand out and beckons Achaean Fortress to team up with Steel Wing. The adventurer freezes in shock when a handler calls him out for a special request, still baffled about why it's him. He tries to duck the offer, insisting there are better people for the job. Still, the other adventurer insists that after her earlier request and that brutal combat test, nothing proves her point more than him, so as her last gift before she retires, she asks him to take it. She drops a bombshell, she's about to retire, and then spills the real reason nobody saw coming. She's out to take down the Forest Devourer, the colossus that's been stopping the party for years, and smash her way through the barrier on the 30th floor at last. And when he hears what she's aiming for, he knows this isn't just a fight, it's the kind of decisive battle that could flip everyone's fate. He figures that in a group, maybe nothing's truly impossible, but the second he thinks about joining Steel Wing, he freezes up. Sensing his doubt, the crowd leans in and declares the invite isn't just an invite, it's a stamp of respect for his skill, plus a reminder that the promise still stands. Adventures that are safe, wild, and honestly a blast. And if he beats that monster, there's even a shot at unlocking a brand new ability, so the whole deal gets even harder to resist. Sensing this could be his one and only shot, he finally cracks and agrees to join them. Right after that, they dive straight into the formal terms. For a monster-sized hunt, you don't just wing it. You need a contract to spell out the risks, the rewards, and the rules of the chase, and the moment the agreement starts clicking into place, the alliance finally locks in for real. The contract gets sealed with a wild special clause. If rare items pop up during the mission, that adventurer doesn't just get them, they get first dibs. The guild will clutch the official document, and both sides will seal the deal by accepting the terms. Once everything's finally settled, they plot it. Within a week, he'll hook up with the main team and then hit the road. The contract gets locked in with one ruthless handshake. The leader leans in and flat out tells the adventurer, "I'm counting on you," making it crystal clear he trusts him with the whole mission. The adventurer nods, swears he's in, and they clamp hands again. Boom, just like that, a fresh partnership is born for the trials waiting ahead. Later on, the adventurer heads to the bank to drop off the promissory note he just got from the deal, and everything begins smooth, until the situation spirals so fast that everyone starts staring, and then the guild sends a rep to apologize face-to-face for the mess, and her wildly dramatic reaction smacks him with instant embarrassment, while everything around him screams that this contract is way bigger than he ever guessed. The guild employee grabs some of the blame for the recent mess and drops a heartfelt apology, and instead of tearing him down, she leans in with trust and says she's always believed in him. Ever since he rolled into the city, she's been watching his grind like it matters, and with a soft smile she swears she'll keep cheering for him, leaving him stunned, moved to his core, and honestly grateful. In that week-long countdown, he keeps trying to lose himself in games, but the weight of the promise keeps squeezing his chest, and relaxation never comes. With the deadline breathing down his neck, he finally snaps into action and sets out to steal the drunken dream fruit. This rare prize could make or break everything for the mission ahead. As the challenge looms, he grabs a special bow and his brand new arrows, betting everything to survive the brutal danger of fighting up close. Even though he's never used that weapon before, he leans on its long-range edge, steps in to strike, and unleashes the plan he's been banking on. He finally nails it. Those perfectly placed shots drop the monster hard. Even while his body fought back, he still managed to land those critical hits, and right after the win, he finally notices his heir. The arrows are nearly gone, and using them costs a fortune, plus he can't afford to waste a single resource, because that tree still has to be protected, and it's the rare fruit he fought tooth and nail to cultivate. He swings his gaze through the forest and realizes, with a jolt, that wood is stacked everywhere he looks. His face changes instantly, as the idea hits him like a lightning bolt. There's more than enough power here to crush his problem, and boom, his drive ignites all over again. Armed with an enhanced axe, he chops through trees at full speed, turning a mountain of lumber into quick work. He starts stockpiling a mountain of lumber at lightning speed, and the relief hits hard as he realizes, with a jolt, he could have done this ages ago. And he keeps pushing forward, grabbing every last thing he needs to make the journey happen. But as he ripped through the trees, he accidentally catches the eye of a terrifying entity that punishes anyone who destroys things the wrong way. Confused out of his mind, he blurts out that he didn't break anything important, right up until the truth smacks him in the face too late. Tree stumps are structures in the rules, so that mistake throws him straight into real danger. Turns out, even grabbing resources the right way can trigger consequences nobody saw coming. After wiping out yet another one of those monsters, he's left totally drained, like all he knows about how to fight them still can't save his body. Still, he barrels through the forest, trading blows, healing up, and pushing on, until he finally stumbles upon the exact spot he was hunting for, and he's ready to take the next step. When he stumbles into the swamp, he spots the drunken dream fruit. Then the realization hits him way too late. It was bait all along. The creature that cultivates it surges up out of the water, like it's been waiting to strike. It finally showed its teeth as a hulking crocodile with an unbreakable shell, so if he wants that fruit, he'll have to beat the real guardian hiding it. He squares up to the armored crocodile, and the truth hits hard. It's a austere nightmare, sealed under near-impenetrable plating. No matter how hard he swings, his hits barely scratch the surface. This beast isn't being beaten by brute strength alone. Seeing the opening, he darts straight for the crocodile's mouth, right where the armor can't reach, and the beast's guard falls apart. With one crushing hit, the decisive blow drops the creature for good, and as the monster lies there, he snatches its special ability before it slips away, locking in the win and ending the fight from the top. After that, he checks his status and grins. He's upgraded for real, with a boost to one of his combat skills. He finally gets it. The system doesn't just level you up by beating foes, it hammers you through repeated technique after technique. Now that he finally has the drunken dream fruit in his grip, He can feel his power surging, and he steels himself, preparing even more carefully for whatever hits next. He finally gets his hands on the drunken dream fruit, then tears apart the leftovers, which is them logging the item into the system and tagging it as Entwood. He blinks and realizes the whole forest has gone eerily silent, like every last creature vanished without a trace. So he figures the big threat is gone for good, and that means he can finally push forward with way less danger. After scouring the creatures and the wreckage they left behind, the adventurer clicks. This forest devourer is probably feasting on ants and whatever else it can hunt in the woods. That shockingly clears up why those creatures keep vanishing, and it lays bare the dungeon's whole survival logic. And now he's got yet another brutal reason to smash the main monster that's been holding everyone back on every floor. He combs every inch of the day hunting the promised end, but nightfall still slams in and leaves him empty-handed. So with the deadline breathing down his neck, he turns back for the city to handle the banking side of the money first. At the guild, they tell him the money will land in his account the second everything's finalized, so he has to sit tight and wait before he can jump back into the mission. While he's posted up at the guild, he catches people whispering about his latest wins, sizing him up as pure power, and honestly, a little terrifying. That stare hits him and churns up dread, dragging all those nasty old memories back to the surface. Then a staff member storms back with great news, congratulates him right on the spot, and all that pressure finally melts away as it's confirmed everything went through. The adventurer's jaw drops when he realizes the guild just promoted him. With his recent wins, his brutal combat results, and the massive gold from his magical item deals, he earns it. He rockets from bronze straight up to silver rank. He goes dead quiet, trying to wrap his head around how fast his whole life has flipped upside down. All by himself, he stares at his brand new ID, and it finally hits him. Every risk, every fight, every ounce of effort landed right here. He's officially a silver-ranked adventurer now, and you can practically feel his life flipping into a brand new chapter. He sits back and zeroes in on his special powers, realizing they're speeding up his growth and even helping him earn a living. But deep down, he knows that none of that wipes out the blood, sweat, and work he poured into it. Caught between crushing doubt and sparks of hope, he finally realizes that climbing even higher ranks might stop being a fantasy, and this time, it could actually happen. He lets a proud spark flare in his chest for what he's pulled off. Then on the exact day, he strides straight to the tavern where the meeting's been waiting. This is the first time he's meeting the Flameblade party in person, and that weight hits him so hard his nerves start shaking. With their terrifying reputation hanging over him and zero time to brace himself, he lunges forward, nerves sparking, desperate to finally step into the next stage of his journey. The party leader steps up and beckons him to head into the tavern together, and he nods and agrees. Then they start walking. His mind drifts to the Steel Wings announcing his retirement, and everything it'll mean for the team, caught somewhere between crushing doubt and wild curiosity. He starts worrying that this party is moments from collapsing, and that dread only cranks up the pressure for the meeting that's coming next. While they talk, the leader finally sees through his fear about the Steel Wings' fate. She assures him it won't vanish overnight, but after the mission against the Forest Devourer, some members will step away, making this Steel Wings' last big fight before they go home, and that coming battle hits even harder. She finally admits that back then, pride drove her. She shut out her teammates' feelings, stormed into the dungeon alone, and charged forward just to prove she was worthy. That one reckless mistake cracked the door wide open for a deadly entity, and it came this close to stealing her life. She thanks the adventurer for pulling her back from disaster, admitting, straight up, that if he hadn't stepped in, it would have ended in tragedy. She's brimming with pure energy and iron determination, stepping into the forest of hours with zero regrets. And it hits him hard in a real way. He finally gets it. It's her mindset that makes her unbreakable. While they wait for the rest of the team in the tavern, the two drop into their seats and gear up for a mission that could end the Steel Wing era forever. When the others finally roll in, he can practically feel that seasoned, battle-tested confidence pouring off the crew. A woman steps up with a teasing grin, calls him by his nickname, and makes it crystal clear he's the team's fortress. As everyone squeezes in, the tavern's mood flips in an instant, because the mission is about to kick off. Flameblade's leader steps up with a confident, warm smile and instantly leaves a lasting, unforgettable first impression. She stared at the adventurer's face and boom, recognition hit hard. She remembered him from that dinner, proving her memory is razor sharp, and it was obvious he'd been turning heads long before he ever officially stepped into this mission. With every leader in the room, they huddle up and start cooking up a strategy to take down the Forest Devourer. They split up to strike from different angles, lock in the plan right there that day, and set their departure for 3 days later. With a threat this massive, the real question hits hard: who's going to step up and own the frontline assault, the deadliest job in the whole battle? Out of nowhere, the adventurer steps up and volunteers for the front line. He tells them he's got physical reinforcement skills to yank the monster's attention, so he can stand right in front and eat its hardest hits, and the leaders are shocked, because the second they see he's ready to take the biggest risk, they start treating him like he's the real deal. The leader spots his bravery and hands him the most terrifying job in the whole operation. The whole group erupts in cheers, then snaps, "Don't overdo it. All right, decision made. He's going to be." He's the one who charges in first, and right then the final preparations kick off. The whole crew clinks their drinks and cheers loud in the tavern to seal the deal. The leader, already buzzing from the drinks, needles him for being too polite, while the others scramble to get her under control. Laughter erupts and mugs lift high, right before the deadly mission hits, while the adventurer, wrapped in the warmth of his crew, finally gets a rare breath of peace and real camaraderie. While the laughter hits and the food and drinks keep flying, it finally dawns on him: this is the first time, in this life or even the last one, he's ever felt something like this. He finally gets what it means to sit at the same table as his allies, and it hits him hard. This isn't just a group, it's where he truly belongs, part of something way bigger than himself. A little tipsy, he starts to loosen up, and as the night stays loud and lively, he even starts eyeing the next drink. His companion takes every single word way too literally, and the two of them immediately spiral into a hilarious back and forth. The scene shuts down with a gut punch, only 3 days left before the decisive fight against the forest devourer. Right before the showdown, the adventurer dashes back into the dungeon to snag the one piece of equipment he absolutely needs. He hunts the targets down and wipes them out fast, because he knows the clock is running out. After 3 brutal days of grinding, he finally smashes the job out and sprints back the exact moment the deadline hits, ready to go toe-to-toe in the decisive clash. He storms back with a brand new full set of gear, and when he unveils the special armor set, it doesn't just look powerful, it grants abilities too. He realizes it's not just weapons that can pack unique power, armor can too, and he finally knows his gamble paid off. Fully loaded and ready, he strides to the meeting point, marching straight toward the battle that'll decide the mission's fate. With that new armor on, the leader thinks he's a rival knight and charges him. Then he has to shout who he is before the attack lands. The moment she spots her mistake, she freezes, staring at the look and sheer power of his brand new gear. That moment snaps into relief and leaves you staring in admiration, because it proves he's even more ready for whatever's about to hit next. Once everyone's locked in and on the same page, the whole crew confirms they're ready to launch. Side by side, they charge out with the adventurer blazing at the front, kicking off the hunt for the forest devourer, because its victory will seal the fate of those blocked floors. As they crash deeper into the forest, the adventurer stays planted at the front, shoulders forward as he braces for the first clash he's responsible for, nerves chewing at him the whole time, refusing to let go. He stays locked on his steady pace until he finally sees the target up ahead. At last, the forest devourer finally makes its presence known, signaling the moment the ultimate showdown is about to explode. The forest devil surges in with crushing force, way more terrifying than anything they've ever had to face. Sensing the monster's brutal weight, the adventurer kicks his skills into gear and charges ahead, hauling its attention back while he holds the line as the team's shield. He hurls himself straight at the forest devourer, head-on, but the hit lands with barely a dent, proving this creature is absurdly, ridiculously hard to kill. Even hits meant to punch through armor barely even scratch him, because this enemy is in a completely different league than everything he faced before. As the forest devourer gets swarmed from every angle, each squad swings into action, steadily grinding its defenses down bite by bite. With the pressure crushing him, the adventurer hunts for cracks in the enemy's guard, then realizes the eyes aren't the weak spot at all. Right here, the leader snaps into command, barks orders, and organizes the assault, because they need to slam the airborne threats fast and keep their eyes locked on the monster's weakest spots. The monster bellows to scare them off, cracks its jaws wide, and the adventurer bolts through that gap at full speed. The silence gets smashed by deafening noise right now, yet he doesn't flinch as he surges straight into the danger. As the leader stares, soaking in the anxious disbelief, because every step he takes could blow up in his face. In the middle of all that chaos, the adventurer darts into a blind spot, slipping just out of his ally's view. Then he unleashes a forbidden technique, and his weapon surges with a wild, unstable power, ready to explode into a final, decisive hit. In total silence, he squeezes every last ounce of resolve, ready to risk it all on the final blow, then the attack crashes off script. The monster slams him away with pure brutality, and he crashes across the ground, knocked clean out of the front line. The leader barrels toward him, terrified for what might happen next, even with the battlefield roaring around them, because this fight isn't even close to finished. Even battered and bleeding, he hauls himself back up and screams at the group to go straight for the monster's eyes, then his warning lands hard. The leaders slam forward as one, driving razor-precise hits straight into the creature's weak spot. The team's brutal, coordinated assault slams the Forest Devourer back, carving a clear path straight to the fight's final blow. The Forest Devourer gets overwhelmed by their combined assault. Its monster body finally shatters to the ground right in front of the group. After they finally drop the enemy, the whole team erupts in celebration, following a brutal, high-stakes battle that nearly got them wiped out. Exhausted, the adventurer goes silent, gripping the heaviness of everything he just survived as the danger finally slips away. As the Forest Devourers drop, a storm of magic stones rains down across the battlefield. They snatch up the loot, split the rewards, and collapse for a short breather after that brutal grind, and for the adventurer, it's the finish of a vicious chapter, right as brand new possibilities begin to open up. With the mission finally wrapped up, the adventurer throws a victory celebration like a victory parade, because the objective is done and every goal is smashed. He's tracked down every single material he needs, and now, just like that, he's cleared to start building the brewery, a huge milestone in his game life. Even after taking down that colossal boss, this personal win hits the hardest, closing the arc with pure excitement and a full-on rush of satisfaction. Back at base, he stares in disbelief. His brewery is finally done, built brick by brick with every last coin he had poured in. With the new building finally up and running, he gets to decide what gets made: fruit wine, beer, even socks, and standing there, he can't stop feeling that gut-deep win. Turns out the grind for this mission wasn't pointless at all. As soon as production kicks off, he realizes the recipes don't just need ingredients, they demand magic stones too, and it floors him, yet he grits his teeth and still goes for apple cider. With everything he'd stocked up, he slams through the first batch with zero trouble, and once the barrel's ready, it hits him. Managing resources is gonna matter as much as winning every fight. Right when he's about to take that brewery's first sip, he freezes, because the moment he realizes it, it's already way too late, and he can't even get his hands on the cider. The leader storms in, furious that he's behind schedule, smashing the quiet peace and yanking him straight back into deadlines and full responsibility. The adventurer bolts back, gripping the drinks he'd just made, and blurts out apologies for making everyone wait. The leader spots his hard work, gives him a nod of respect, and agrees to toast with whatever he brought. The whole crew clinks their glasses in celebration, soaking up the victory together as the journey finally reaches its triumphant end. The moment he takes a sip, the adventurer's eyes widen, flavor hits him hard, and he can't help but grin because his own brew tastes exactly like he hoped. When everyone starts nosing around about where that drink even came from, he shuts it down and keeps his skills locked tight, like an adventurer's secret weapon only he can use, and the party rolls on, lighter than air, as everyone celebrates both the win and this brand new achievement. In the middle of the talk, the leader breaks into praise, loudly gassing up the adventurer's skills. She says he keeps stunning her, even though he still carries that fresh-from-the-basics beginner vibe, and she points out he only just clawed his way up from a low rank, which makes his progress feel downright unreal. The adventurer bows his head, claiming he just kept unlocking more of his power, while she admits she's a little jealous of how insanely fast he's grown. She claims she's already hit her peak, and now her job is to step back and ignite the next generation. The adventurer leans in and tells her, "You've still got incredible value." But she gets it, her job now is to clear the path for fresh talent, and their talk hits like a torch being handed off, proving the future goes to the ones still ready to grow. As they split up, she tells him she can't wait to see him again, only this time, even stronger. He answers with raw sincerity, holding on to every second they ever shared like it mattered more than anything. Charged with determination, she vows to grow too, and the moment wraps up with both of them clinking glasses and toasting the future, locking in a goodbye that's bursting with hope. Sensing the adventurer's buzz in the air, the leader grins and teases him for his mood. Riding the buzzing energy, she raises one more toast, and the whole room jumps in fast. The adventurer suddenly gets it. His excitement isn't random at all. It's the electric, warm energy of that rare second when everyone's joy lines up together. He takes a huge, satisfying sip of his own drink, grins, and declares it the best thing he's ever tasted. The party rages on until dawn, and with that, their whole journey comes to a bright, happy stop. Then just a few days later, Steel Wing and Flameblade face each other one last time, trade heartfelt goodbyes, and walk out of the city, sealing the end of their alliance and kicking off a brand new chapter for everyone. After the others vanish, the adventurer is left hanging back, alone again, with nothing but the quiet. The sudden silence hits like a punch, snapping him out of the warmth he just lived through, yet he forces his feet forward anyway, clutching those memories and charging into the next stretch of his journey. He scans the now empty place and finally gets it. Meetings and goodbyes are just stepping stones in his road. With nobody beside him, he swallows the ache, breathes deep, and takes off like he's chasing the next chapter of his adventure. After splitting from his crew, Akian rockets back into the loud, crowded streets, fixated on one mission, reaching the royal capital. With the brewery quest finally done, he refuses to throw himself into the dungeon yet. No way, not now. After proving he can push past his limits, he grabs the safer route instead, itching to chase fresh adventures across the whole world. Once his business in the region wraps up, Acheon tells them, "I'm heading back to the royal capital." The receptionist tells him his stay is officially over, and he thanks her as he walks out. Even with that quiet loneliness crawling in after all that time in the dungeon, he shoves it aside, because this is the start of his next chapter. Acheon bids the dungeon receptionist farewell, swearing that one day he'll come back and take the dungeon on again. Then he slips out of the city with light, carefree steps, chuckling under his breath as he races toward his next destination. With fresh adventures buzzing in his chest, he darts down the road, not slowing for a second. He clenched his resolve and pushed on, even as his mind snapped back to the friends he'd left behind. He's got a drink he brewed with his own hands, and now he's itching to surprise the dungeon receptionist with it. And races back to the kids who once helped him, praying they made it through the winter okay. Then he grits his teeth and pushes onward to his next showdown. While he keeps traveling, Acheon can't stop thinking, because for the first time, he's realizing there are people who genuinely care about him, and that hit makes the whole journey feel way lighter. Fueled by all those feelings and the progress he's earned, he barrels forward without ever slowing down, and somehow he hits the royal capital in just one single day. The same trip that used to take 3 days, now crushed, proving just how far he's grown. Back in the royal capital, Acheon storms into the inn, hustles to the front desk, and registers his stay. The receptionist let out a breath of relief as she confessed she'd been freaking out about how long he'd vanished. Then he told her he'd been delayed, but now he was back, ready to dive into his journey again. And the whole registration grind kicks off again, once you finish the paperwork. Acheon steps up and unveils his new rank, and the receptionist's jaw drops when she sees he's been promoted to silver class, and praises him with wild enthusiasm, stunned at how fast he blitzed his way up the ranks. Acheon doesn't even make a scene, she just thanks her, already plotting how wildly surprising his next appearance is going to be. Acheon barrels straight back to his room, and for the first time, he finally crashes and gets some much-needed rest. Still reeling from his last fight with the Woods Eater, he realizes he never even got the chance to properly measure how far he's come. Alone in that silent room, he snaps on his appraisal skill and checks his status like his life depends on it. And then watch how far he's come from everything he's survived, because when the results finally land, Acheon freezes in pure shock. His stats have shot through the roof, thanks to brutal fights, ripped-off abilities, and the special gear he's got now. Even with his luck still in the gutter, he realizes he's way stronger than he ever dreamed, because every risk he took, every fight he survived, and every choice he made hauled him up to a level that used to feel totally impossible a year ago. After Acheon got reborn into a whole new world, he tore himself away from the shattered man he used to be, and for a while, he truly believed nothing would ever change. Now, thanks to a game-like system and his special power, he's pulling off feats he never even dared to dream, because even with the mind of an old man, he got a second chance to start over, and he's fired up to prove his life can still bloom. Deep in his bones, the one wish burned hardest, that his old self could finally look at him and see who he'd become. Now Acheon sits in his room in the royal capital, stronger and more confident than ever, clutching the system's interface like it's in his control. With a million choices crashing through his mind, he stops and decides, because this new world still has a mountain of dangers waiting, and every road leads to some kind of fight. Now that his past is finally gone, he's ready to grab the next step of his journey and run.